leave it to me to try something new. I'm your host, David Cameo, and we are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. And yes, it is midnight on Tuesday, going into Tuesday, on the eastern seaboard of the United States. And I'm actually here to premiere our first episode of Season 11, the final season of The Walking Dead, the flagship TWD Universe show. It is late. It's a little late in coming. It's a little late right now. I may be stuttering. We have to do a little bit of housekeeping before we continue, though. And first of all, you'll notice that we have a lot of people on the show. First and foremost, the return of Meg the Geek after a long hiatus. She is back. She is better than ever. Well, she hasn't really changed much. Let's be honest here. But we're so glad she's here. And it's like she never left. Second of all, yes, you'll notice Sharon D is actually continuing to join us as a regular host in our Walking Dead coverage. Yes, she isn't exclusively Fear the Walking Dead. She does have some really great insights towards the Walking Dead. Third, you'll notice that we have a fifth member. She is Eliza. When we rolled out our membership tiers on ko-fi.com/squawkingdead, she heard the call, she signed up, and she signed up for the top tier of which is you get to host along with us. You are a junior host during our episode breakdowns. You get to come onto our Discord so we can discuss things behind the scenes. You get to have some input in the way the show gets directed. You're basically a assistant producer / host. Hey, Michael Lloyd Zachary. And so she's doing it, and she kicks ass. I cannot wait for you to hear what she has to say on this episode. Other than that, yes, free week. Now, free week is something that we started last week where you can get some of the posts, you can get access to content that's normally locked for supporters for free. All you have to do is create an account on ko-fi.com or ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com, and then follow us on ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. It's right here. Now, when you do that, you'll get notified via email and also Chrome notifications that when we have posts that go up, like things that behind the scenes, recording sessions that we want you to join. Like last week, we interviewed Mo Collins. We had many people in the chat. Mo Collins was reading your questions and your love, and she was loving it. And this is exactly why we wanted to do it last week. And we're extending this all the way through September, meaning September 1st, this will stop. But we want you to continue to take advantage. We'll be recording tomorrow night. We'll be dropping the details tomorrow. So please, please, please head over to ko-fi.com and follow us at ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. Yes. Okay. That's basically it. And if you want to join one of our membership tiers, or if you tip us during this broadcast right now, your support will show up in this video forever during, as long as during this premiere. If you're watching the replay, don't give us anything, or you can give us stuff. I mean, we won't complain. But anyway, thank you for joining us during the premiere of this Walking Dead season premiere coverage. I hope you enjoy this. It's 2 hours long, just like before, and get ready, because we're gonna talk about more Walking Dead as the season continues. Enjoy the new theme music too. We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh. That's going to happen a lot today, but most times we go deep. And I'm here, David Cameo, with my North Star, my partner in crime, Cosmom09, Rachel Bird. And then I have Sharon D, a.k.a. Blazy Gardner. And then the return of the Mac. Meg the Geek.
Hey, don't call it a comeback.
last but definitely not least, and there's a story behind this, so you just sit tight as I announce our Survivor member, Eliza. A lot's happened since our last episode. Obviously, Meg's here, right? Obviously, Eliza's here, right? Obviously, Sharon is here. She actually was with us in our last episode covering Fear the Walking Dead Season 6 season finale. Thank you very much. That was great. We wrapped that up pretty nicely into a boil. But Eliza is here. Why is Eliza here? Well, it so happens we rolled out membership tiers on ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. Why didn't you know about it? Well, as it so happens, we have 3 different tiers. We have our usual tier. You get a bunch of stuff for free. That was it for the longest time, for 2 years. You got to be with us while we record. You got to get the unedited episode recordings once they were done. And a bunch of little things here and there sprinkled out throughout 2 years of our existence. Sometimes you get to pop on for free. So, yeah, it's a whole thing. You were there. You got a ringtone sometimes. That is actually the standard tier that we have going on. It's called the Walker tier. Our Whisperers tier is our second tier. If you join that membership tier, you will get your name in the credits at the end of the video episodes. Of course, you'll get a shout out on the audio podcast because I have to say your name, as well as 50% off in the merch store, which is crazy. That perk aside, we have our Survivors tier. Now, this is the whole reason why I decided to move ahead with these membership tiers in the first place, because I thought to myself, how are we going to up our game when it comes to We Are Squawking Dead? We Are Squawking Dead means it's all of us lending our voices to a idea or an episode or our thoughts towards a given subject matter when it comes to the Walking Dead universe. So I thought a Survivors tier. This one's going to be out of reach for most people because it's going to be a bit more expensive, but Eliza heard the call and she joined the Survivors tier. And what that tier is, you host the show with us. You join us on camera, lending your opinions and thoughts. And I'm so happy that you were the first person that signed up for a membership tier, and it happened to be the top tier. And you get the 50% off the merch store. You just have to talk to me about it. When episode 142 comes out, that's the one we had with Ben from Just Keep Walking. That episode will have Elisa's credits at the end of the episode because that's another perk. Obviously, the survivors get the credits too, but they get the credits first and bigger. Okay, they get them bigger. They get their own credit, and then everybody in the survivor tiers gets their own major credit sequence. Okay, and they're first. First is the best. Contrary to what we heard in grade school. First is the best. Elisa's the best. Anyways, I'm done with my rant. Thank you for joining us here on We're Back. TWD's back, and so are we, and so is Meg. Okay, let's start with the obvious. How are you guys feeling about this? Because obviously this is the beginning of the end.
Do we really have to start there? How
am
I feeling?
Do.
I think bittersweet is the best word to describe it.
That was the word I used today. Yep.
It's just surreal to me. I really can't believe that we're here, actually. What about Lisa? What do you think?
I was going to say surreal as well. It was kind of gutting last night. I was all excited, had some friends over for the season premiere, and then after the opening credits, it was like, holy crap, this is the last season premiere.
Yeah.
And it's man, what a ride it's been, though.
And it has been a long ride. Let's keep that in mind too. Charity, how do you feel having binged that? We have to remind the audience every now and again that Charity basically torture porned, Clockwork Orange watched The Walking Dead in basically just like a week or two sitting. To prepare for our retrospective, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, last year.
It was partly for that, but also because I was hearing all of the Easter eggs and the tie-ins, and I didn't understand any of them because I had not watched Walking Dead.
Fear the Walking Dead specifically.
Right. So in order to get all the goodies, I had to watch The Walking Dead. So I binged all of it. At that point, it was 9.5 seasons because it was right before 9B started. So I binged all of it in 2 weeks. 9.5 seasons.
My sympathies with your therapist, aka Dennis.
Yeah.
Yes, they need to be with Dennis. I feel bad that I came in so late. But it doesn't have the same emotional impact to me that it does for all of you. I'll be more upset when they say it's Fear's last season. Then I'll be very sad.
Well, but you having binged The Walking Dead, it gives you a little insight into some of the Fear characters and why they act the way they do on Fear.
Yeah, I mean, Dwight was a big part of it because everyone's like, "Oh, Dwight, he's such a terrible person." And I watched Fear, and I'm like, where is this terrible Dwight that everybody's talking about? So yeah, it's just
Yeah.
I'm glad I watched it, and I still enjoy it, but, I love Fear more.
It's been an emotional journey. I'm not familiar with any of the other fandoms. Like, I know Star Wars and Star Trek, but this one has literally touched me in my soul with the people that I have been able to bring into my life. And I did one of those little videos to send into Talking Dead. And for me, you guys and the other friends that I've created through The Walking Dead helped me get through the past year and a half pandemic, helped me get through a divorce, and helped me get through, 4 deaths of relatives over this pandemic. And so the fandom has just been amazing.
Well, we're happy to be here for you too. I mean, and I think I feel sort of the same way. Because you believe the same way as me that this is kind of surreal because of the impact this series has had on us, just not as a dramatic series, but also in the family that we've created. It feels a little bit like Carl's death in a way, where it kind of dragged out a little too long. We found out about this roughly last year. We found out The Walking Dead was ending, and then we had the pandemic to kind of slow things down for us in some ways, right? And so we felt, in some ways, kind of like, all right, I mean, you don't want it to end, but now that it's here, it's kind of like, oh, now the beginning of the end's happening. Oh my God. We had a whole year to digest that fact, and now it's starting. And it's good to remind everybody that, okay, we've got 24 episodes with 2 breaks in between each section. They're officially calling it 11A, 11B, and 11C. So, I mean, I think we've got Fear the Walking Dead sprinkled in between, as well as World Beyond. Thanks, AMC. Motherfuck. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, last year, I mean, you do know what I'm talking about, but you don't know what it was like on our end. Having to do 2 episodes a week is insane. Insane work. There's no time to create blogs, no time to create clips. It's all about recording, rough cutting, and getting it the fuck out the door. Because it's time to record, it's time to edit the next one, time to record the next show. So they'll be doing that again to us. And speaking of that, it's very distracting, okay, knowing that this is the last season, but having to do this Fear the Walking Dead World Beyond recording sesh. It was very traumatizing. We got to Christmas time and it was just like, I'm so glad this is over. I'm so glad for this break. I do not mind a live stream session, just chilling out with Ben from Just Keep Walking, which is episode 120. I do not mind having a discussion with Brains Gone Bad and Aim for the Head podcast.
Aim for the Head, yep.
Yeah, that was great. It was a nice way to decompress after a traumatic recording season. I mean, look, rewarding episodes, really rewarding episodes. Loved breaking these episodes down. But, okay, there is such thing as having too much of the thing you love. Okay? There is. But going back to The Walking Dead, for those of you who don't also know, at least the first 8 episodes of this season are going to be available, all 8 episodes are going to be available a week in advance on AMC+. So, for instance, the second episode is already out, and it was already out as of Sunday morning, midnight Sunday morning for PST. And I don't know how to feel about that. And I'd like to kind of go around the room with that. I mean, given the fact that this is the last season, but mixed with the fact that these episodes are out a week in advance every week for at least the next 8 episodes, how do you guys feel about this, starting with Sharon D? Because I know Meg wants to speak, but she's last now. No, she's
now
next.
I quit.
She's next.
I was going to say, where's your sign?
I need to make a new one.
I relinquish my time to Meg.
No. Go ahead, baby. Go ahead.
No, Meg enjoys me being a tyrant, so no, you will go first.
No. Go ahead. Say your piece.
Yeah.
I really don't know why they're doing that, because it was confusing enough when they released it on Thursdays. You know what I mean? I mean, it was trying to keep up with what, because just spoiler-wise, just trying not to spoil people, it was so confusing. So this, people were talking last night about the episode that was airing as it was airing, and I'm sitting there thinking, but because I'd already seen the second one, so I don't mind them coming out early. I like them coming out on Thursdays. I can deal with that, but a week early it's just too much. It's too much. It's too early.
Maybe before we continue, had anybody gotten spoiled from then until now?
No.
Or did you guys just watch it right away? Or what did you guys do to avoid it?
I didn't get to watch it till I finally broke down and got AMC Plus, so I watched it Saturday, just a day early.
Mm-hmm.
But anything that came up on social media, I just scrolled on past. I didn't want to be spoiled.
Beanie, you did see spoilers though.
I saw spoilers, but I would notice that at least it seemed now people were being more conscientious of putting spoiler at the top of their post, and so
or like TWD spoilers
so
in the
quickly
hashtag.
just scroll on past it.
Yeah, if you guys ever, so this is for the audience mostly, but if you ever, and maybe for you, Lisa, if you need help muting certain keywords, you can always DM me. I will walk you through it on your phone or on your PC. You can mute out certain posts that contain the words TWD spoilers or spoilers in it.
Well, sure, Andy's good at that, aren't you? Sure, Andy knows how to do that.
Yeah, Sharity knows how to do that too. Yeah, well, or DM Blazy Gardner at Blazy Gardner on all the social medias. Listen, I do this for a living, so please don't DM me. Just don't.
No.
Just don't do it.
I'm gonna do it.
DM Blazy, she loves it.
Oh, thanks.
Now you know what it's like.
You're going to hear me make a lot of comparisons tonight between the TWD universe and the MCU. Okay. So when you have, like, how yesterday all that news about Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man trailer got leaked and everything, when you have an entity, regardless if it's a whole fandom like the MCU, The Walking Dead, or even just a highly anticipated anything, if you try to hide it that hard, it's gonna get leaked. Okay?
I see what you're saying.
So, and also with AMC, Disney Plus, every streaming platform, they skyrocketed during the pandemic. And AMC is trying to keep up that trend by riding it out and having people subscribe. So that way they know how popular The Walking Dead is. They know how popular the last season is. We've been going at this for 11 years now. So they're doing anything and everything they can to get viewers. So they know, hey, let's release it a week early. It's fucking stupid.
Now,
okay?
Now, going on that note, though, do you think that it's possible that they're doing this to get that reaction from that half of the audience?
Because what they're going to do is some people, not me, because I refuse to spend any more money on streaming services, but, you're getting an old school Meg Rain here, so I hope you've missed this.
Here for it.
I like to stoke the flame a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, you totally poked the bear here. So there's some people that are going to be like, you know what? I'm tired of avoiding the spoilers. I'm just going to pay the, $5 a month just to get this early. And that's how they're winning. And plus they got to compete with Disney Plus because overseas, Walking Dead airs on Disney Plus. So in the US, they have AMC Plus. So it's got to compete with that. Hulu, Netflix, they're trying to keep their head in the game here. And I get it from a marketing standpoint and a business standpoint. I get it. But it's fucking stupid.
Although AMC, it's in itself as a channel, though. AMC as a channel has released really superior content, though. I mean, let's talk about Preacher. Let's talk about
Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul.
Right, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul.
Nosferatu.
The murder one that won awards. What was that one? The with the lady murderer with Sandra Oh.
Oh, Killing
Eve. Thank you. Yeah, which was award winning. I mean, it won awards. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you're talking about a network that has, like, almost every series that they've released, even, like, Into the Badlands, has been, so like, just like, very, very good television. So, consistently. It's like New York pizza. It may not be your cup of tea, but it's reliable. It's certainly reliable.
If somebody tells me New York pizza isn't their cup of tea, they just need to
it's like this.
My question.
Because I've had I've had pizza from the South.
Oh no, pizza anywhere outside New York State is horrible. And maybe New Jersey.
No offense.
New Jersey.
No
I can
offense.
lump New Jersey in.
Oh, Jersey's got top tier pizza.
We've got.
We can fight about this later.
I have a question.
You have good tea. I admit that.
We have grits.
So how are the ratings determined? Are they determined on the early premiere, or are they determined on the actual night of?
Well, ratings are still determined by ratings.
Well, everybody says, "Oh, The Walking Dead's ratings have dropped,"
That's because,
and I'm like,
that's because they only take the live watches into the consideration in the ratings.
Cable.
Which I think is really stupid. A lot of people don't have cable anymore. We do not have cable. We haven't had cable in 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, they also have another demographic, which is solely just for streaming. Because, they have how many streamers, they have how many accounts versus how many people watch either when the new episode airs or watches the show in general.
And when they watch. Yeah.
And when they watch it. It's all analytical.
I wish that the back half of this last season that they would not do any early release, that it would all have to be joined together. We've got to go down this ship as one. And I think at least that
like the Titanic.
The back half of this last season have it all done on one night, on Sunday night. And that way, we started this way. We should end this way.
Yep.
I find it hard to believe that they won't go eventually that route, at least with the last third of episodes. Just because, I mean, if they're going to want to finish, they're going to want to finish big. However, I do feel like they may end up doing this whole ambiguous note thing, like at the end. Kind of like the comic book in a way. Like, okay, is it over? Is it over? But is it over?
Like an open-ended type thing.
The perfect ending is one of Teddy's nukes lands in Virginia, takes everybody out at one time except for Carol and Daryl because they've gone on a run somewhere.
Teddy's.
Boy, that took a long time to
It would
get to
have had to orbit
Virginia.
the Earth for a few years.
Oh, and then of course they would have to, at the end credits would be the Curb Your Enthusiasm credits. Dun, dun, dun. So I'll edit it in.
Yep.
Oh, that'd be terrible.
And then developed by Frank Darabont. They have to put developed by Frank Darabont in everything now, legally. And I say this because, of course, they're trying to be like a Star Trek. They're trying to be like a Star Wars franchise. They're trying to branch off into many different other properties that will... that may be just not. It's not going to be exactly as memorable as The Walking Dead, but it will try to get close, and in that, try to enhance your memory of The Walking Dead, which is kind of like what for me, because I'm a Star Trek fan, right? So when I watch things like I remember when I was watching Star Trek Enterprise live when it first came out, it was like 2005, I think, or something like that. It was great because it enhanced the memories. First of all, because of the callbacks, but it enhanced the memories that I had of watching, let's say, The Next Generation live when I was a kid, or even like the original series. It just sharpens the dials a little bit. It kind of tweaks your perceptions a little bit. So I'm hoping that like the future properties, and which is why I'm not so sad about it ending so much, and because it's like Carl's death, it's just kind of dragging. But like that in its funeral, let's say, in its wake, we'll end up converting from being sad to instantly like remembering it fondly. That's my hope. And hopefully they'll do exactly like you say, Eliza, and like, coalesce on at least, okay, maybe AMC Plus subscribers will get it the morning of, like kind of like now, but not a week ahead, like the morning of, instead of like they did for us on Fear. Remember last year? Like they promised us like a day and
3 a.m. on Sunday morning. You get
which
it.
didn't do us any favors. Thanks for 2 episodes a week.
You know what I want them to do on the Talking Dead episode that airs right after the finale? When they do the in memoriam, I want the in memoriam to be the show.
Just the Walking Dead.
They'll do
I'm
it.
gonna cry already.
I'm hoping.
Yeah. Well,
It wasn't me this time. It was Meg.
The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead pulled me into Fear.
I thought it was Sharondy.
No. I met Sharondy. He and I were talking before she ever met Jenna. Because you got to admit, when you first start watching Fear, it's slower than smoke off of Merle's ass. And that's my turtle.
The turtle,
but it was so good to get that background, because it really showed the de-evolution of society and how quickly it happened for all the slowness of it. And I know Madison, but with Walking Dead, we woke up with Rick and everybody was, gone. But with Fear, you got that backstory of that fast de-evolution of society, and I liked how they were good reflectors. They were foils for one another.
I agree.
For whatever was good on The Walking Dead, there was a bad on the Fear, and then vice versa. But they foiled one another so perfectly that they carried each other, I believe. World Beyond has not got me sold yet. I'm just not.
Well, I think part of it, what you're talking about, like on Fear, is what made me like Fear more. Like, okay, because for all the walking into the apocalypse with Rick and etc., right? These extraordinary people that you end up finding. Fear wasn't like that. And I've said this before, but like Fear was like, okay, if you like this, well, how about try this dysfunctional family that
that's all of us.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the everyman walking into the apocalypse. Okay, now what? Yeah. Do they come together now as a family? Do they? No, they do not. Spoiler alert.
Damn, I haven't seen it yet. Stop.
But they sort of do. But they sort of don't.
Wait, hold up. You haven't watched the beginning of Fear?
I've watched most of season 1.
4 episodes of 6.
4 through 6.
Oh,
I
we need to have a
tried.
talk.
I really tried.
We need to have a talk.
I watched the first 5 episodes of season 1.
There's only 6.
You have
Right.
one episode left. Season 1 is my favorite
Is it?
season.
Strand showed up, and I was like, I'm done. I'm good.
But the finale is really good, and not so spoiler, I plan on making a huge ass video about Fear the Walking Dead, comparing like stuff from season 1 on. So yeah, I'm gonna make you watch that.
I am gonna
I know
watch
that
it. I am.
Rachel's
gonna watch it with
yeah,
me.
there you go.
Yeah,
what I
Rachel's
was
gonna
gonna
watch
say.
it with me and talk me through it. But yeah, I did try. I just couldn't get into it. None of the characters I like are in seasons 1 through 3. All of the characters I love are in 4 through 6.
Season 2 is gonna be really rough.
Season 3 is
I
really
will say
it's
that.
the what do you call it?
1 and 3 are
Three,
the
three
best.
I believe is a good bridge
She'll get a better perspective on Madison.
for sure, 100%.
And you'll understand why.
and
my
you'll
Madison
understand why.
stand.
I don't look. People have the misconception that I hate Madison, and I don't.
I think
don't
because
hate
of season
Madison.
4, by the way.
She's just
She
not a
hates Morgan.
favorite.
She hates
But I get.
I think because you don't know Madison yet.
But what I'm saying is, people have this misconception that I hate Madison, and I don't.
Well, I
don't
think
hate
there's
Madison.
another-
She's just not a favorit, but it's been spread around that I hate her, and that is not.
No, that's not true.
Let me get out there. I do not hate Madison.
I'm so gonna clip this
Well,
out
there's
now.
like this. There's this huge.
Out of context.
There's this huge
Oh,
divide in the
okay.
fandom. Like you have to be a June fan or a Madison fan, and you can't be both. And everyone knows
That does not make
it
sense
doesn't make
to me.
any sense at all. And everyone knows
that.
what June means to you. So I think they just assume you hate Madison, and that's totally not the case.
Because she loves Morgan.
Their constant hating on me makes me hate Madison more than anything.
Right.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
No,
too.
you gotta
Like,
get to know the good. And Meg, you're a Madison fan. A Madistan is an insult.
Okay.
I mean,
Yes.
I can
Well, no,
I can
no,
be.
no, no,
I'm
no,
a
wait.
Madistan. I'm a Madistan.
I'm a Madistan, but I am here to defend the normal Madison fans to prove that not everyone is so batshit
Yeah.
crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
The Madistans are the
Which we
aggressive
have-
ones.
Oh
We
no,
have-
I'm a
yeah.
Madistan, but I'm a sane Madistan.
Yeah, we're diplomatic
have a
envoys
few-
from the country of Madistan.
Yes, we have
Here are
a
our
few
papers.
sane Madison friends, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But there
Dave
are
and
some
I-
that are crazy.
Yeah.
So
Well, but we see that also a crossover on The Walking Dead. I mean, it's like
the carolers.
right now, I mean, the hate on Lauren Cohen was so vicious that she deleted all of her social media up until I think just yesterday she is back on
She started
Twitter.
live
I
Yeah,
just saw her on
she came back
Instagram
She
And-
was
too.
on Instagram a couple of weeks ago.
And I just kept telling people the same we told them on Fear is you can hate the character all day long, but you got to love the actor who's making who is that damn good that can make you hate a character. You know,
Some people don't know how to differentiate, sadly.
no, and they're
yeah,
morons.
oh, that's true.
But you know, we learned that. I mean, Negan, Alpha are two great characters that I hated that I loved. You know, but at the same context, I love the human being who Samantha Morton is.
Oh wow.
All and her life story and just the interaction I've had with her on Instagram. And I love the human being that Jeffrey Dean Morgan is. And I think our emotions for our characters wanes according to what is going on in those seasons and in those episodes. Last night was a prime example. We thought Negan had well reformed, and then what happened?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was the look of death. You know, and I was like,
Negan be Negan.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what I was going to say. Yep. One of the things I noticed upon rewatch is that some of the things Negan says isn't far-fetched, and even the character Maggie does sort of confirm some of the things he's been saying, which was he suspects and he claims that Maggie's out there to just murk his ass. Like, we're going on this dangerous mission just to murk Negan, essentially. Now, I don't think that's true 100%, or even maybe 10%. But there's some things in this episode that make me think otherwise. Like, there are certain scenes where Maggie's people clearly know the story. And Maggie's people in this just one scene before they come upon the bodies wrapped up in the mass grave that they're talking about. The opening of that scene is Negan kind of just looking behind his shoulder, and he sees all of Maggie's people staring his ass down, not moving. Comes back to Negan and goes, "Can you fucking believe this?" It's like, okay. I mean, they know, but this is worse. Something's up And even Negan kind of trying to point, excuse me, Daryl, excuse me? Like, rewatching this episode, you're thinking, oh, he may be onto something. But
he even thought Daryl was in on it. He said, "You're in on it too."
But then, too glassy-eyed.
When Maggie's guys are walking past him, they like boom, boom. Every one of them are hitting him, like intentionally, and he's like, "You're in on it too," you know.
I don't think it was Maggie's mission to take Negan out there and kill him. I mean, she says he's like basically their tour guide, right? He knows the city. I do think there's some truth to that. I mean, he obviously does know his way around. They continually ask him for his advice on where they are and where they should go. So I do believe that. Now, if Maggie sees an opportunity where she can kick Negan, I mean, if it had been Negan hanging from the back of the train and Maggie was up there, I think she'd have pushed his ass. So
that's a question that came up in the live tweet. Yeah.
So was it her mission to kill him? No, but I think she will look for. I think she would take advantage of an opportunity if she saw one to kill him, or not kill him, but let him die. How's that?
Kind of like he sort of did by the end of the episode.
Yes, exactly.
So like, do unto others what would be done to you. That's the golden rule in reverse.
Well, piggybacking on what Rachel said, if Maggie, quote unquote, lets Negan die, she's no blame on her, so she gets away with it.
Yeah,
exactly.
And this is how Negan's operating in a sense. He's like saying, and which kind of echoes back to, if you remember 802, his little heart to heart with Gabriel. He knows how to read people. He knows he knows what's going on. He knows the writing on the wall when he sees it. So when he acts in kind, it's one of the first times we actually kind of got to know Negan a little bit more and what his motivations are. People are a resource, etc.
As far as finding their way around the city, I mean, there are maps, and they could probably find one and find their way around. So, I mean, even needing... Maybe they brought him along originally for that. Like, oh, you know, he knows the city, let's bring him. But I still think that if given the opportunity, Maggie would take him out. Or, let him die.
Yeah, well, and Negan's a capable fighter, too. I mean, we can't look past that. I mean, he is a fighter, so...
And I think that's why
But she doesn't trust him enough to have him there for just fighting, you know? I don't think she brought him just for that.
No.
But I think that's why he called her on it, is because he knew that if she got the opportunity, she would take it, and he wasn't going to let it be on her turn. Mm-hmm. That's why he started pushing the buttons and said, let's just do it now. And because then it would be on his turn.
Well, are you satisfied though? Okay, well, there's two things I want to bring up in response to this because I have to dig. One, if it is true that everybody can read a map, okay, we're not dummies. I mean, look at Gabriel and Aaron. One more, they're reading maps all day. Okay, so then why do they Why do they rely on him? It starts off right from the scene where it rains. He is basically telling people exactly where to go. Right from the opening of that scene. Then he advises, we should hunker down. And then they say, shut the fuck up. But the first part, they were listening wholeheartedly to. Now, to me, I'm trying to interpret these, like, if they really don't need him and they know how to read a map, why do they wholeheartedly depend on him? Is it strictly because they want to make him feel a sense of that he belongs initially?
Oh, no, they don't make him feel that at all. Because regardless of what they ask him, they immediately cut him down. We don't want your opinion. Your opinion doesn't matter. Okay, which way do we go?
Good point.
No, doesn't matter.
He's basically a living map.
So
that's all they want him for.
Okay, so then we're forced to conclude that he really is necessary.
He's like Siri, you know, which direction do I go?
but like a sarcastic, witty.
Yeah, but
Siri.
don't tell me there's a wreck up ahead. Just tell me which way to go.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I want him as my Siri. I want him as my navigation system.
Well, that's interesting.
Well, and having Negan there to direct everyone is faster than having to stop and check the map however often they need to.
Because they need to get there as fast as possible, or they're trying to get there as fast as possible. But which is actually more prompted by Maggie than anybody else. Like, they have a week to do this. And Negan's asking for 6 hours until the rain passes. Now, is what he's saying completely sensible? And there seems to be like an urgency from the beginning of the episode, right after the big Mission Impossible scene, which we'll double back towards. It's not that crazy relevant, but it is pretty good eye candy.
Well, she knew those bodies were down there. She knew that because she said they were from the fall.
Yeah, how would she know that if she didn't know about them ahead of time? Mm-hmm.
Right.
I thought the same thing.
All right, so we're going to talk about that now. Okay, no, but that's...
And if those bodies were like 12 years old, there's no way they would still look like that.
And the obese...
They'd be bones.
One.
Well,
Yeah, there's
Everybody
no
else
way they
in
would
the
just be all.
dead bones.
Well, let's think about that for a minute.
Especially if it flooded all the time. If that tunnel flooded all the time, those bodies would not look like that. They'd be rotted away
Everywhere.
And like they were
They would've
rotted,
been
but most of
everywhere.
them were like whole. They had like bubbles and stuff on them, but none of them were like rotted away.
No, exactly.
Well, I mean, hey, let's think about this for a second because, number one, they were in plastic bags tied around the neck. So, of course, some waters, they're not airtight, but of course some water is going to get in.
But they would have floated down that damn tunnel if it had flooded.
Well, maybe that's why they were all at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
Because they floated down
It
there.
sounds like they were like near a junction, so they couldn't kind of wrap around the corner. They kind of just stopped
where
there.
they ended up.
Yeah.
Bogged up together.
Yeah, which I've seen, and this is just from my experience, Meg may know, I don't know, but like in the subway tunnel, that's kind of how things shake out, like you kind of see a pattern after all, because we've had flooded tunnels too before, and especially around Superstorm Sandy, stronger than Storm, we got to see a lot of that too.
Basically, you got a free pool.
Exactly.
Oh my
Basically.
gosh.
And they're stuck at the bottom, and which is probably near a drainage too, of some sort of drainage. So that's probably where they kind of ended up, maybe.
Converged.
But on the note of them being like bones and stuff like that, I don't think so. And we've seen in the past like how okay, we're 12 years ahead, and this is the intelligence of the show. Even in a facility at the beginning of this episode where these people were there at the fall, you want to talk about comparing and parallels and comparisons. Maggie says these people in the subway tunnel are from the fall, but we know I think it's pretty much concluded as a fact that we know that the people at Fort Connors in the beginning of this episode were most likely there from the fall. We know that from the knowing looks that Carol gives to Maggie at the beginning, the caked dust on everything for so long.
But I thought the fall Maggie was referring to in the subway was Meridian.
No, I think she's referring to the fall, like the zombie fall.
Oh, I was thinking it was Meridian, and that the Reapers had put everybody down there.
Oh, so you were thinking those were Meridian civilians?
I thought they were from her fall at her.
Well, the only reason why I don't think that
decomp would make more sense.
Yeah, but I'm thinking it's not that, only because of what Negan's reaction is. Are you sure these are from the fall? Are you sure these are from the fall? Come on, Maggie. Are you sure?
I also assumed she meant like from the beginning of the apocalypse.
Yeah.
But I didn't even think about Meridian civilians.
No, I mean,
But she would have recognized people from Meridian.
yeah,
It's true.
As much as I love Maggie, she's got some secrets.
yeah. That
Well,
I'll just leave it at that.
The thing is I don't think they looked at any of them except for that first one.
Yeah.
And that's when Daryl said the throat's been slit almost to the decapitation. That's why we didn't make any sound. And I don't think they went and looked. I just think they went through and started piking everybody.
What are the odds that maybe it was another community that they didn't know of? Like, these are, like, it was from the Reapers. Like, the Reapers could have attacked these people because weren't really, quote-unquote, from the fall, like Maggie initially stated. What if they were members from another community and they wind up finding food that way?
wait. Which people are we talking about?
The people in the tunnel.
Okay.
The ones in the bags.
So because this is something I had thought maybe of as well. I'm not really hard in the paint about this idea, but the concept of Maggie knows these people, and it's because she and her people pulled a satellite station on them. These are the people she pulled a satellite station on.
Oh, that's smart.
Remember when she first came back, they asked her about her going off with Georgie. We tried to establish several different communities, and for whatever reason, they would fall apart.
Right.
And so, quote unquote, why is this Pope got her pegged? So I'm kind of like you. I think she pulled a Negan and wiped out a group to try to, take over their deal. Maybe that's who they are.
I had another thought, though, as I was having this thought, which was...
A thought on a thought.
And Maggie, you'll like this especially. Not because... I mean, look, for all my defense of Maggie, I had this thought. I'm not committed to it. Just like I wasn't very committed to the last one. But what if Maggie, Duncan, and all those people were the Reapers?
I thought of that too.
And they had a schism of some kind. Meaning, like, they kind of broke apart. Like, like Morgan and Victor, they formed... I'm kidding. I'm not going to get into that. But, like, they were once a whole community that actually kind of worked. And then one person had ideas, and the other person had ideas, Maggie, and said, nah, this is a bridge too far. Look, we've been murdering people left and right, but, enough is enough. And the guy goes, and the Pope, Pope, mark you. Like, that I had to do it once this episode before we moved on. Yeah, but that guy who's been revealed, in some of the post-production photos.
I'm so mad about that. I can't even.
Oh yeah.
I can't even.
Well, what is it that makes you mad about it? Let's talk about
that.
This.
They revealed who it was. I wanted to keep theorizing. I wanted to come up with so many wrong answers. It was just ludicrous by the time they showed us this person. We had no idea. I just wanted to keep guessing, and now I can't keep guessing.
Well, so remember with Fear, they said if Madison stayed on, she would have turned into the ultimate big bad.
I did hear that theory. Yeah.
Okay, they've talked about that theory for years. What if they did something like that with Maggie?
I can see that.
That's interesting.
I think, we always bash Carol for her.
Who bashes Carol? I'm sorry.
You talked about poking the bear with me. You poked the bear here.
Let's let Lisa finish this.
There are people who bash Carol for her recklessness because she was so focused on her revenge against Alpha that she would do things that put the group in jeopardy. And of all Maggie suffered a lot in this series, her dad, her brother, her husband, her mom, everybody. So maybe this is, Glenn's death, it tricked her. It made her a deadly woman. And she is becoming that which she detested the most.
Maybe worse.
She's becoming Negan.
Yeah.
Or worse.
Elise, I completely agree with you, and the line that Maggie says to Negan about the woman who left 6 years ago, she's the only reason you're alive. And for a split second, I had like 1,000 thoughts in my head, right? And I'm like, wouldn't the woman 6 years ago just blast him? And I'm like, oh wait, no, because the last time she saw him, he was a pathetic, sobbing puddle of mess. I mean, she was just like, ugh.
You're already dead.
Yeah, you're already dead. So then I remembered that woman.
And then it makes you think of Sherry, because Sherry couldn't stop, right? Sherry, like when we got to see Sherry over the course of several episodes, like just fobbing on, like just saying, no, Dwight, I can't be happy. I got shit to do. But it was like this thing she would never be able to achieve. Not only because we know what ends up happening, that he ends up being in jail, because they don't know the end of all that war. Not really. Mm-hmm. Dwight does, but, for her, it's still not over. I escaped and I just kept running, right?
Yeah.
So you get a taste of what Maggie could have been like, but with bigger stakes. Like, because knowing Dwight is alive is a whole other story. Like, if Dwight had been brutally murdered by Negan, it would be a whole other story. And now we have Maggie. Now take Sherry's feelings and transplant them to Maggie, and then add it 10 million times. You have a twisted, better picture of like, what would Maggie become as a result of this? What now?
I mean, she is becoming that which she despised,
and maybe worse, because it's a grief that's never quelched. Like, even seeing Negan being pathetic, it's kind of like, well, what happens to me now? Where do all these feelings go? Because the second, not a few episodes later, which is like not even a few hours later, we lose Rick, and Maggie goes away, and she's forced to put all these feelings and stuff them down. She has Herschel, she's had Herschel, and
you never recover from that. I mean, even when they finally got rid of the Horde, and Daryl asked Carol, did you get what you want?
Are you talking about like post Alpha, the Whispers and the Whisper Horde, right?
I mean, you don't. There is, and that is so reflective of real life. When you think about parents who go after people who have murdered their children or things like that, we think vengeance and we think revenge is the answer, but it never satisfies that dark space. And Rick probably had the most peace with Negan when he said, my mercy prevails over my wrath. He forgave him, and he was able to release that. And all Maggie has let it do is fester. Mm-hmm. And Carol had it.
And that's what's interesting about season 9, too, because Rick actually basically tells Carol this. Of all people, Carol, he goes, I think about killing him every morning when I wake up. I think about killing Negan every morning, and then I remember, and then he goes through the steps, like Carl, his idea, why he died, why he chose to do things the way he did, but near the end, what it's all for.
I do think Maggie's character, her arc in the story, will somehow be the catalyst that is the demise for several of our characters as part of the ending because we know we're going to lose a lot of people.
Because we're dragging in her Reapers into this. Like, regardless of what we think might happen.
Her Reapers. And, she made the comment to come at night, and by the time they're there, you're dead. So
kind of like whom, by the way. I just wanted to drop that pin.
Sounds like CRM.
Right. It's exactly what I said, and exactly the way I said it. So they're watching us. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yes, go on.
I think she will be. I think her anger, her vengeance, is going to become more reckless than Carol's, and it's going to wind up costing the lives of many of our people.
Well, we can kind of compare right now their tracks, right? I mean, Carol. I can admit, Carol did sort of go crazy there for a minute. With good reason.
It was that pause that got me.
Just for a single minute. Yeah. Just for a minute.
She lost perspective for a minute. I can admit that. But however, she never let me phrase this so that I don't cause an outrage here. She never asked anyone to help her pursue this. She did it on her own, and everyone chose to follow after her. Maggie is recruiting people to go on these missions. She is asking people to volunteer their lives for this.
And I don't
like Maggie's like the worst of Rick and Carol.
Carol never
kind of like, right?
Yeah. Carol never intentionally set out to do harm to anyone in the group.
Except Alpha.
Except for Alpha.
But she did recruit Negan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but she didn't care if he died, I don't think.
And still,
and I think that was like
he was the one to pull it off.
Right.
And I will say this much, like, I think it was understood that, like, Negan understood, like, okay, this is the risk, this is the path to redemption. I'm accepting actually, now
you might not make it out alive.
But now that Meg mentions this is a very important point, that he was the only one she let in on what she wanted to do. He was the only one, Negan, and like he signed a waiver in essence. Everybody else, no. I mean, she never asked them to join. That is true. But while they were there, she did not care about the consequences. Like, you know what I mean? Like, as long as they were in her orbit, she was like, "Fuck this! I'm going after this bitch."
Didn't you think it was odd that Carol did not volunteer to go with Maggie?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I was like, note the people that didn't go.
And Carol,
that was the first on my list.
Carol looked like she was almost in tears, like she wanted to say, "Don't do this. This is not what you need to be doing." Because she's always the first, right there with Daryl. Let's go do it. Let's go do it. And
in that moment, do you think she got it? Like, she understood fully, like, what it looked like from the other side?
I think she saw herself in Maggie, but to a higher degree.
Right. Well, I mean, when you're forced to face your bubble or your mirror, that's when the mirror starts to crack, like, or maybe even cracks completely. I was wondering what that meant, having her not be there.
The only thing I can think of is Aaron made a point to say that Alexandria needed to be better defended. You know, the walls need to be built back up, and so maybe Carol thought she could be of better use defending Alexandria.
Or that maybe this was best for her, and maybe she still hasn't fully recovered. Could be.
Possibly. I like what Eliza's saying, though. That makes a lot of sense. She's seeing herself in Maggie, and for the first time, she's seeing it from the outside. Yeah, and probably scares her, maybe.
Or maybe Carol is kind of pulling a Nick Clark, in a sense. Nick didn't want to leave the stadium. So with Carol staying behind, she realized the consequences of all her actions last season. She could want to stay, be like, you know what, I got to prove my, even though we know how crazy, listen to me, how good she is and how good of a fighter she is, and yes, she is crazy, even though I love her. Good crazy. But she may feel like she has to prove herself, maybe not to others, but prove herself to herself. To be like, I got to get back to how I was. Staying here is going to help me do that.
Well, I mean, you're immediately disproven because of the prior scene, because she was in that Fort Connors, though. So, I mean.
True.
And she was and she stayed back at Fort Connors when everybody left. She's like, "Oh, I gotta go. There's another box."
Yeah, she's putting herself at risk again. But you know what? This is going to be, I think, what from our conversation, I'm feeling a repeating theme, which is the inability, and I don't blame anybody for this, but the inability for people to move past their grief. You know, that no matter how hard we try, it's a tangible and indelible thing. It's a tattoo that won't go away. It may fade over time. The colors may not be as bright. You know, over time we gain and lose weight. Our skin shrinks, all this stuff. But it's still there. You know, it's something that's not going away. But you see this, why I bring this up now is because of two things. One, what we just brought up now, which is we can't forget what happened to Carol in her pursuit. And now we get to see that again with Maggie in a different circumstance. And those things do deal with loss, Henry being one of them, Glenn being another one of them, and it never going away. And possibly what ends up happening to all the people she loses in all these other communities. Assuming how much of that is true, of course, whatever. But then we go back to Negan, right? Try as you might. You even see Daryl at some point going, well, you think we're buddies now? But like, because it's hard to forget that this guy ruled a community. He did what he did. Yes, he did what he did because of it. But he did some shitty things that, no matter what the reason, were horrible.
But our people do shitty things.
You shut your mouth. I'm kidding.
I have always said from the beginning that if we had started watching this series with the Saviors, that we would have seen Rick's group as the villains.
Yeah.
I've said that for years.
The show has been slowly moving in the direction of trying to, if you can't completely superimpose that image, at least as close as possible to like, okay, well, you may not have liked his methods, but had this been from his point of view.
And I think we have to do that with almost every community. I still think Alpha was batshit crazy. But it worked. But it worked for her and the group.
Right.
Even before
as it did for Negan's group. Yeah, but
even before the fall.
Yeah, it worked. And then you had the governor. And now we've got Governor number 2, Governor Junior at the Commonwealth coming up. So it's very hard for us to separate our love for our group when we see what others do. But at the same time, if you step back and you go, if I'd been watching these from the beginning, I get it. I understand. I think with Maggie, yes, she is being reckless, but she is being exponentially more reckless than Carol ever did. I really don't think Carol ever, like Rachel said, Carol went out and did shit on her own. People followed her. That's their own shit, But here she is saying, let's go. I want everybody to come with me. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. We don't know where else she's going to take us.
Even her reaction to what happens to Gage. Like, she's like, all right, just pay more attention now. Like, she was just unfazed by this.
And nobody helped Negan.
No.
When he was fighting that big
not one
monster, bulky walker to save Gage, not one person came to help him. They all just stood there and watched him.
Same thing.
Nobody even ran to help Gage but Negan.
The same thing when Negan went back for Judith. Nobody else went to look for Judith in the snowstorm but Negan. And nobody else went to help Gage but Negan.
Can we talk, and again, this is probably why they're billing him as the redeemed one in the billboards, in the key art, whatever. And maybe billboards. I don't know. I don't get outside much. When it comes to Gage, specifically, if you don't recall the beginning of season 10, you had Lydia being bullied by Gage and Negan rushing in to push him aside, and the highwayman man, who dies as a result. I mean, accidentally, obviously, but Gage being the big proponent of one of the big proponents of bullying. I was going to say Cassidy, bullying Lydia and protecting her, and the irony of him stepping in immediately to help out Gage says a lot about his character. I mean, and in that he doesn't play favorites, even though it was Lydia and he was very protective of Lydia, it's supposed to send a message: we don't kill kids. I don't kill kids. And not only that, I love kids.
He was a high school PE teacher.
Instinctually.
So he has an immediate connection to the younger. And I really think his relationship with Lydia and his relationship with Judith were part of his transformation and helped him kind of reconnect with the Negan Smith that he used to be. But there is that underlying connection as a school teacher that takes him to the kids.
This brings me to 2 specific points that I kind of want to bring up, which does reinforce your theory about Maggie being worse, turning into a monster worse than Negan, right? Possibly. Again, and I'm going to roll all of this back. Just that's how I roll. But until that time, I want to bring up the fact that it must not be a coincidence that we had this here's Negan episodes, because, we're seeing the perspective of Negan that saves Judith and Dog. Let's not forget Dog, or Dog saves him, or, however you want to look at it. But you see that, which, Negan stepping in, although messy, saving Hilltop, essentially, sort of, saving our people, saving Gage. Okay, so we're getting a Negan that's going one way, and a Maggie that may be going the other way. This is the ships in the night episode where we see things shift. Now, yes, we do have that Negan be Neganing moment, but then given all we know, and given the fact that it may be true that maybe Maggie is just doing what Sherry would have had she returned. That sort of thing. It may not be like Negan is still who he is. Like if somebody's coming after to kill me, I am not going to sit idly by. But it may be possible. Now I want to bring that up. Now I'm gonna roll all this back because we don't know. We just don't know. And I'm going to say this much. You're right. Maybe Maggie is stating this for us more than it is for Negan, that the woman that left 6 years ago or more, again, this is 12 years after the apocalypse, not just 10. We learned that from Here's Negan. I know. Let's not fight about this. Timelines. But what we find out is that, yes, she may not be the woman who left 6 years ago. However, what that woman was a very successful leader. I mean, you're talking about a Rick who's begging Hilltop to send some supplies. Say what you want about her butting heads with Rick. You can't fault Maggie for just wanting to take care of her people and then make them thrive. And you have to remember, C. Thomas Howell, who's actually called in the character, his name is called Roy. He was of the kingdom. We met him in season 9. He was like, Rosita Espinosa, like announcing her like weird. Anyway, still funny as shit. But hey, he's here and he is in the credits in the beginning of these episodes now. So I'm in for it. He remembers.
He grabs their shit and runs away.
Yeah. Well, smart. Okay.
Smart. Oh,
goodbye. Anyways, getting to the point though, he knows Maggie, or at least that Maggie.
Yeah.
So he can tell everybody the tales of this successful leader and how, as a result, Hilltop must have grown not only in size but in numbers. This is like an argument I had with somebody else, like why would the Whisperers attack Hilltop? It's like, well, Hilltop was the successful colony out of beating Alexandria by a mile, like way ahead of its time. So of course they're going to attack Hilltop. Why not?
I really wish Carol hadn't have told Maggie that Negan was there at the attack of Hilltop, because I think that just drove another knife into Maggie. When she saw Hilltop ruined, and Carol said, you should know he was there that night.
But she also said in the same breath that had it not been for him,
we would have
all been dead.
I think Carol did that so that she just needed to be honest with Maggie. She needed to get it all off her chest. She needed to say, here's what happened. I don't want to leave anything out. I think that was her just sort of clearing her conscience.
But also, think of what would happen if Maggie came back and she had no idea Negan was still there.
Yeah.
And her first time knowing was when she sees him. So in a way, I feel like Carol kind of did her a favor. I was like, you know what? Just a heads up. This is all the shit that's gone down. Oh, by the way. But because think about it. Think about it if you were going to a party and somebody was there that cheated, or like your ex cheated on you with this person, for example. I know it's not the same realm. Wouldn't you want a heads up that they're going to be there?
Yeah, because then I could stay home.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, no cell phones in the apocalypse, so too late now. There's no home to go back to, Maggie.
No, that's a good point, though, Meg. Giving Maggie a heads up, like, hey, just he's still here.
And he's out. We unleashed the Negan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, so what I wanted to kind of bring it back to with bringing up C. Thomas Howell's character, Roy, was going kind of back to the beginning of the episode, where we see this borderline Mission Impossible meets Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of scene, which brought me to season 9. The beginning of season 9 was filmed a similar heist sort of sequence where they're in this museum trying to get some of this old technology to build this key to the future for mostly, I think it was Maggie and a little bit of Alexandria. But at the same time, sorry, that was for Alexandria and the Kingdom, I suppose, because they're doing shitty. But
that was a good episode, though.
Yeah, no.
They gave it all to the Saviors. They gave all the seeds and stuff to the Saviors because the sanctuary was failing. So, and then they kept the plow. The plow broke. Yeah. When they were attacked by walkers, the plow fell off the back of the wagon and was broken. Right. And that's how they ended up letting Earl out of jail to blacksmith the plow. Oh, that episode was actually all about Maggie becoming a better leader because, or it might not have been that one, it might have been the one after that, but because she wasn't going to let Earl out, she was going to keep Earl in jail, indefinitely, and she would rather let everybody. She would rather everybody have to scrounge for gas to run the tractor than let Earl out of the jail. to fix the plow.
It's funny, Dave and I just had a conversation about Maggie being the better leader
than Rick.
So it's funny that you said that. Yeah.
So, but yeah, at the end she was like, well, I found this solution. I'll let Earl out under supervision so he can work on stuff, instead of just keeping him in jail. Because she just executed
Gregory.
Gregory.
Yeah. And he was, and Earl was the only blacksmith, and, but he wasn't drunk.
Well, he was the analogy of, cutting your nose to spite your face. She's not willing to do that, Right. Whereas, I could easily see, this is me saying, I can easily see Rick maybe doing that, cutting off his nose to spite his face, cutting off someone else's nose to spite his own face, I suppose.
Well, and that's what they all thought he did. That's why Maggie powwowed with Jesus and Daryl at Hilltop, because they thought he had done that by keeping Negan alive. That he's a weak leader now by doing that.
Meanwhile, it was supposed to be like more of a long-term kind of solution, meaning the more people see that we can live justly, at least it might not be perfect. Look, but we got the saviors, we have them on our team. We're not willing to. We're showing them that we can live a better way, and unfortunately, that promise didn't kind of quite turn out to fruition for them. Unfortunately, it seems like.
What did you guys think about Eugene's group?
Okay, yes. Flipping back to the Commonwealth realm.
Princess was one of my favorite segments of the show. Princess picking out all the stuff with the soldiers, and Maggie and Negan were my two favorite parts of the episode.
Wait, can we talk about that for a second? Because, 10C, you have this Princess episode. She's losing her fucking marbles. However, what a stark contrast between Princess in this episode versus the Princess in last episode. And I wanted to bring this up because at the beginning of this episode, you had kind of like a previously, right? To catch you up a little bit. Do you remember the CRM soldier that says, hands in the air? Okay, so he says it normally in the beginning of this previously, right? But do you remember just like at the end of 10:16, I think it was, when you finally do see the Commonwealth soldiers for the first time? It was in a register deeper. Or at least the 10C episode, in Princess's recollection, it was much deeper register. Do you remember it being hands in the air?
It was scarier to her.
Right. I wanted to go back to that because it's reinforcing a theory that we had about
the whole thing, really.
The whole thing, really, but specifically about Lance Hornsby. But then you realize it's in her head. It's much scarier and darker and grosser, and even like words that she's probably hearing, like having them strip search her and all that stuff like that, or strip shower, or delousing her, or whatever it is, and making her watch and getting their rocks off, and then the fake Lance Hornsby saying bitch, like that sort of thing, which kind of brings me back to the deadbeat and deadbeat number 1 or lying asshole number 2, that which she says in the episode. I say all of this to say, what a difference. What a difference between our perceptions of them before, from Princess's point of view, which reinforces the theory we had, to this episode where she's got the run of the table. She just knows exactly what's going on. At least it seems that way.
Well, I mean, she's like a female Negan on Ritalin. I mean, for all of her crazy, she is so absolute attuned to everything around her. And maybe she has always been that way, very hyper vigilant. And maybe I don't know if she was like that always, or if this is something that is post-apocalyptic, because she was alone except for her little zombie dress-up doll, and so she did this hyper awareness and hyper vigilance of everything around her occur because of that isolation. But it was hilarious. It was just like, well, they're having sex and this and everybody's like, well, what?
Going with what Lisa was saying, as somebody with massive ADHD, you pick up on everything. And so kind of like what Princess was doing, it made it sound like high school gossip, but I feel like she had like a massive case of ADHD even before the fall, or before the apocalypse, quote unquote. And it helped her with the apocalypse and being alone. It really helped her hone in on those skills. So now, when she's really stepping up to the plate.
When we recorded for Splinter, we had kind of asked ourselves, is any of this really happening? Like, are these interviews that Princess is having even happening? And after watching this episode, I'm ready to say no, they didn't happen. That was all imagined in Splinter.
Yeah.
This is the real interview, but what we saw in Splinter didn't happen.
Like, completely didn't happen.
Right.
Right. I'm not one. I'm like 98% of the way there. Part of me thinks there's still like this. There's like, when somebody tells you a lie, there's a kernel of truth.
Yeah.
Right. I've still got that. I still got that. Like, if some of this must have been real in some way, has to be a little bit real, maybe.
Well, think about the room she was in and the people that were in there, and then compare that to the actual interviews that we see. Completely different room, completely different structure. It was well lit. Mercer was there listening in. There were 2 officials interviewing her, not Lance at all. Lance wasn't even there.
Not Lance Hornsby in small armor.
Right. Now,
like
what's weird is that she knew who Lance was. If she imagined him, she would have had to know who he is.
Was that said out loud? But this is the question, because maybe we're making assumptions about him being Lance Hornsby. Or was it said in the 10C episode?
Did he introduce himself? Maybe I'm assuming he did, and he did not.
I'm asking because I don't know, or I don't remember, rather.
Now I'm questioning my own memory.
This is the genius of this episode, though, because
See, I'm getting the comic book mixed in with the episode.
That's exactly why it's genius, because you're sitting there, in your head, oh, that's Lance Hornsby. Right, has to be Lance Hornsby, right? But it's not.
Might not be,
And I will take a wager that if you do watch that episode again, nowhere in that episode does it say that he's Lance Hornsby. However, here's the linchpin. Here's why you wouldn't be faulted for thinking that. Because not only was assumed by us, it was assumed by, I think it was the credits or something in like maybe Wikipedia or something like, because I know many sources called that actor Lance Hornsby.
Okay.
So fuck those people for making assumptions. But I'm glad they did, because it really fucked with you, didn't it?
Well,
and you know what I like more than anything else, when something fucks with me. I mean, let's face it. Like, sometimes you want that fake out, and this is kind of what I'm leading to next. Is
I love it when they trick me.
There's the obvious fake out of Maggie probably being alive in the next episode, right? But we talked about this one theory on the side. I don't know if it was during 10C or something else. But we talked about the possibility of Maggie dying and what the consequences of that would be, and how we could get the road of having shitty Herschel be like a ward of Negan, let's say, and having that be the dark path that shitty Herschel takes, because he's Negan's ward. The try as you might trying to raise Herschel the right way, ending up going the wrong way because it's Negan, or maybe because of the circumstances of which Maggie dies, or maybe the circumstances of which Herschel finds out about Negan. Oh. That sort of thing. Like, right, this is what I was trying to say originally, until I said, what if Negan raises Herschel? Just cold cocking you with that.
I think Negan will die trying to save Herschel.
Oh, wow.
Naturally.
As his last act of redemption, to say, I'm sorry.
That might do it.
But Maggie's not dead.
Convinced.
And I say that because we've seen all the promos for this season, and she's in many more episodes. Because Negan is so connected to children, I think that something is going to happen where Herschel is in some kind of danger, and I can foretell that that's something that Negan would do.
That was my reasoning, by the way. That was why I reasoned and rationale that concept, because Negan would have to do something extraordinarily selfless, and specifically for Herschel. And then my theory was, he does that, Maggie looks at him at least a little bit differently, and then eventually, just like in the next second breath or next episode, dies. And then shitty Herschel trajectory, which I haven't seen the comic books, but I've heard that he's a shitty piece of shit. So
that's when he grows up.
Yeah, maybe
like an adult. I was just sitting here thinking, Maggie's down in the tunnels with all of her people. Who's watching Herschel? I hope she didn't leave him with
Carol.
Maybe Jerry, because Jerry's still at, didn't Jerry still at
Jerry's still in the room? Okay, he's supervision.
There we go.
Right.
And he's got kids. Herschel can play with Jerry's kids. Perfect.
Jerry,
Keep him away from Carol.
Jerry is the government-appointed supervisor for Carol.
Yeah. Do not leave your kids with Carol.
Judith,
a lot of people have been doing the Carol Negan. Like, there's that little nudge now with the Carol Negan ship.
I said,
get out of here with that.
I wanted them to ask Jeffrey Dean is if he could ship Negan with anyone, a past or a current character, who would he ship Negan with? And
keep that in mind, everybody. Keep that in mind as your Carol dreams crash on the rocks.
I would hope he would say Lucille.
Well, yeah, but
Gross.
he had a whole lot of wives at Sanctuary, so it's not a far stretch. But I could just see him and Maggie having angry sex.
Why does it give me Buffy the Vampire Slayer vibes?
Aliza says what I've been thinking but would never say.
But he and Carol would be phenomenal together.
Yeah.
That would be another
Powerhouse
Woods episode for me.
Oh my god. Those subway tunnels will collapse under the weight of their sexy time.
And on that note, no.
Good night, everybody.
Guys, fine.
If Carol goes with Negan, then that means Daryl goes with Maggie.
Ooh, that feels weird, doesn't it?
Ew.
Like a brother-sister kind of thing.
No, he's the reason Glenn's dead.
Oh! Things still hurt. But I like
it will always hurt.
Yeah, well, for us, I mean, Maggie seems to be okay.
Really?
You know,
you think that's okay?
She saw the pain that he. Well, I mean, it's not me. It's Maggie. I'm not saying the things. I'm not doing the things. Maggie made it clear on 2 occasions that like Daryl is not at fault for Glenn's death.
Yeah.
Very clear.
Well,
so
hey,
I'm not touching that.
Maggie can forgive him all she wants. That's cool. Good for you, Maggie. You're a bigger person.
But you know what? I wanted to touch on what Rachel just said because I'm reiterating a point that is going to be a repeating theme throughout the season. We as viewers sometimes have this thing where we expect our characters, listen, and who can blame us? We want our characters to be good people, right? Essentially, at the end of the day, right? You've said this a lot, Rachel.
Yeah, yes.
We almost intrinsically expect it. However, it's becoming clear that like our characters are exhibiting the hard to get over emotions and feelings and memories of things past, and it's not as easy. The show is going to show us that thing, and this is what I liked about The Walking Dead to begin with, is that stop expecting your protagonists to be these altruistic, virtuous people. They're not. But will get you to a point where you're not going to be able to blame them because of things that have happened. And I think this is a new version of telling that tale because now we're at the other end of the story. You know, like we started off the story one way, you know, people absconding with their past and becoming this new thing, the real them. But maybe this goes back to what we were saying before about Maggie. Maybe this is the real her. Maybe this is the her that she was meant to be. Glenn's death being a part of that. But then now we're on the other side of the story, knowing the story, at least this segment of the story is ending. We're on the other side of that with all these experiences in between. So it's not just enough to know what we will become and who we become, but what's happened to get there, right? So now we're at the other end of that, knowing that, okay, there's a lot of regret, there's a lot of mourning, there's a lot of loss. So we have to deal with that now. And this is stuff we've seen. And not just implied past stuff from before, which we never get to see, which I'm all for.
But that is reality. We all go through a metamorphosis through, at different stages in our life. We are not as we were 2 years ago for events that have happened to us. And so there is that constant metamorphosis happening. And, we loved Maggie when she and Glenn were together on Herschel's farm. We cried with Maggie when Glenn died. And now we're like, oh, you hooty hoot, we don't like Maggie. But that's life,
This is why I kind of wanted to roll it back because I'm not ready to go to. It's good that we kind of get it out there. Like, okay, here's my theory. Here's that. I don't know how much I stand behind that theory, but here it is. Here's what I might think. This is where cool thing where this could go. Is June the ultimate villain of Fear the Walking Dead? Well, apparently not. But we had to get it out there. Right? I say all this because I like that we brought back the fact that Maggie was right, Meg? A super capable leader, perhaps even better than Rick. As even Rick himself at season 4 prison, where he said, someday we'll follow you. I think it was. Yeah. So it is sort of like, it's turning out sort of like Laurie's promise to Carl about him beating this world. It's sort of turning out like that. But listen, I'm not ready to go there. We know what we know, and then we suspect what we suspect. Like, we know what we should know, and that Maggie was a truly capable leader.
And if we've learned anything from The Walking Dead is don't predict anything.
Yes. That's exactly where I'm going next.
Dave, do you know what you sound like right now? I said what I said.
I said what I said. Say it with your chest. Yeah, exactly. I said what I said. I mean, you can't forget about these things, though, too. You can't forget about the past. As much as and this is well, what do we always say? The show is trying to lead you down a path that Maggie's being shady, Maggie's saying shady things. But what did I say on BM? What did I say on? Wait, now I have to say this right because they just rebranded. Literally, our friends of the podcast just rebranded their podcast. Chris from BMNY, formerly BMNY Deadcast, is now Chris from
Beauty and the Beasts.
Right, Beauty and the Beasts. Okay, Beauty and the Beasts, which is friend of the podcast Renee Hansen, who is now editor,
Nice.
who is now editor of Undead Walking.
Ooh, awesome.
Okay, that segment of
Awesome,
Fansided.
Renee.
Okay, Chris and Ryan are now like managers at their day job, their respective day jobs, and they have a little bit more time to do this thing. I literally stepped off. Watching them, Meg and I were both watching them do their first inaugural reboot live stream as Beauty and the Beasts.
I'm actually talking to Chris right now.
Get the fuck up! Fire! You're fired! I'm kidding. I told Chris
is
to
my
hop on.
brother. I love Chris. Okay.
I told Chris to hop on too if he has the chance. I don't know when he got off his live stream, but
Like 20 minutes after we started. So in the chat, some people were saying how much they hate Maggie. It's like hate. I and Dave and I were pretty much the only two that were saying, that we really like Maggie. And Dave said the unthinkable. I didn't think anybody would say that he thought Maggie was the better leader
than
or
Rick.
Could be a better leader than Rick. I know there's going to be some comments on this. I am anti-Rick. I have been anti-Rick since season 1.
I disavow. I disavow.
Wait, no. Okay, no, this part's
kidding.
all me.
I'm kidding.
So pretty much, like I was saying, like I thought Shane would have been a better leader. Now I think Maggie would have been a better leader. So we'll talk about that another day.
Yes.
But where was I even going with this?
About Maggie being the superior leader to Rick?
Yeah, basically, I think, she started really proving herself with Hilltop. I felt like that was kind of like her baby. And, that was her, internship. Like, hey, you do good in this, you get to advance. And she proved it, and she advanced, and now who the fuck knows what's going to happen? But she's got to get off that downward spiral.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, in season 9 was supposed to illustrate that Maggie didn't need Rick's permission. I've got my own thing. I mean, if you're not going to give it to me, I'm just going to take it. So here's Hilltop. That's my domain. That's your domain. Let's just, peaceful divorce kind of thing. So it took me a while to get there. I'm just admitting this right now. I was that little thing when you have to admit somebody's right. It was seeing it for the first time. Everybody was like, "Oh, that bitch." And I was a Rick stan at that point. Still kind of that last tooth you got to pull before you replace it with an anchor or something like that. And you're like, "Oh, it's not so bad." But it was a tough pill to swallow. But you got to admit when somebody's right.
But that was before.
But you're right. That was before. And I think that's kind of like what is messing with us the most.
We knew that, Maggie.
Right. And you can see this stuff kind of littered all across our different characters, our respective characters. Seeing Gabe take the initiative and Rosita having a little bit of an unspoken protest, but not stopping him. I have to note that. I think Gabe was kind of like saying, "My turn, Rosita." But also saying, you remember when when Gabriel was defending Alexandria while Rosita was out? They're taking turns. They're taking turns defending Alexandria. I kind of like that. I like this couple. I like this mashup. But it's also to say, remember Father Gabriel 6 years ago. Look at Father Gabriel. Well, even you admit, whoa, you admitted this recently. You said, I think you said this. Like, you're like, okay, I get it. Like with Gabe. I think you said something to that effect.
He has evolved. I see the evolution in Father Gabriel. He's still not my favorite.
This is like what I said about Maggie. Like, as much as you don't want to admit.
Well, and I don't dislike Maggie. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, there's Carol and then everyone else. That's pretty much it for me. So. Everyone else is just even across the board.
I feel that.
Yeah. I don't dislike
Rick. I mean, everybody. Judith. Let's just throw her in the garbage. Michelle.
No.
Oh wait, what?
Everybody else.
Everybody else. Exactly. Nobody's in the garbage. Well, that's not true. But we won't go there. I don't want to.
That's not true.
We're not going to start that. We're not going to start that. But
yeah, I remember you calling someone literal garbage. But anyway, go on. It was the funniest fucking thing.
All the garbage people are dead, so it doesn't matter anymore anyway. So yeah,
except for
Carol,
one,
and then everybody else.
Yeah. Oh, I get you. You're like every other TWD fan, right? It's like, this is my favorite, and everybody else can go to hell.
No, that's not.
I'm kidding.
No,
I'm kidding.
No, I mean,
no, that's true.
I like
for me.
Because we talked about the comparisons between it and the beginning of season 9. Again, Angela Kang taking over. You have these little heist resembling openers, like, and it's totally a great formula. Okay, it's totally a great idea to open up your season with a heist because it gets everybody involved. It gets everybody into it right away.
Right.
But I also wanted to talk about the differences between the opening sequence. Talk about, again, an advent from season 9 that changed from like seasons 1 through 8. What did you think of Angela Kang? I'm putting it all on Angela Kang right now. But what did you think of her changing the original title sequence from season 1 through 8 to this new one? What do you think? Because we never got to talk about that.
I feel like she should have kept some of the original clips and integrated it with her new clips instead of just kind of hijacking it. It's probably one of the few negative things about her taking over.
I think it would have been really sweet and sentimental to have some of the past clips in there. I think it would have added to it. Having said that, I really, really enjoy the opening credits. I think it's like, I mean, it's like, you know, immersive. Like it puts us right into everything, and I do really enjoy that. I love the movement of it all, and
I mean, you're also an artist. Let's keep in mind.
Yeah.
Let's be real
The
here.
Easter eggs are really fun to spot, though, with her intros.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I did see in that opening credit sequence there were clips, moment from, it looked to me like from the past 10 years that there were little
Reminiscent.
pull out. You were able to go, oh yeah, there's that, and I remember that.
So when it first came out, this is what I'm gauging right now. When it first came out, did you have a negative reaction at all to it, though?
I didn't.
Well, it was a shocker because we were so used to this one opener for 9 years or 8 years, and then all of a sudden, bam, it's totally different.
But now that, and so keeping that in mind, now that it's here, you're like, yeah, this is pretty damn cool.
Well, yeah, because at first I was like, what the fuck? But now it's like, oh, okay, there's Aaron's arm, there's the bridge, you know, it makes you, one of the things Walking Dead is known for, once again, comparing it back to the MCU, are known for Easter eggs and callbacks to previous episodes and characters and notions. And this is just another thing it's another layer to it.
It's almost as if no one's gone till they're gone, right?
It also
Oh, don't start with that. Don't.
It also reminds me a lot of the shadow puppets from World Beyond, or vice versa. I mean, the title came first, but the way it's all, it all really could be cutouts that they're just sort of moving around. I think that's really cool.
Right. It actually looks a lot like machinima, which is basically taking, for the uninitiated, Meg knows this, you're using video game sprites and engines, graphics engines to make a movie or make a film sequence or something like that. It looks like computer generated. So I kind of like that for that too.
As someone who makes a lot of edits, I like that they move the things in time with the music. The zombie guys are moving in time with the music. And I like that part of it.
Oh, we need to have a whole talk about that. We should do a video just talking about that, editor to editor.
Anyway, sorry. I'm just getting involved. I will say this much. Okay, I had a negative reaction, but not for reasons you might think. I had a negative reaction because instead of letting us watch it for the first fucking time, they leaked the opening sequence ahead of time, which was, to me, again, and this is like the beginning of the end for me, of all the different times they said, fuck you, here's who's coming next episode. Daniel Salazar's coming back. What? Why did you tell me? I wanted that what the fuck moment. Isabel is the CRM soldier. Take the helmet off first. I want to see that shit in real time. Anyway, this was the bellwether moment of like them doing something so incredibly stupid. And listen, I'm saying this, but it was Angela Kang herself. No, Angela, come on, man. I don't care about the pressure. She did this. She released the thing ahead. I'm like, oh my God, come on. Let me see it for the first time and freak the fuck out and maybe not have a negative reaction, right? Because when it blindsides you and you see it for the first time live, real time, you're like, oh, it's not so bad. Oh, it's not so bad at all. But now when you have a chance to think about it, right, before it airs, you're like, you're picking it apart. You're like, why did you change this thing that I love so much? This wasn't me. I wasn't that person. And I admit, when I saw it first, I said, no! I'm going to watch it in real time. I want to be surprised. No, Angela Kang. Bad Angela Kang. So when I watched it the first time, I actually was very impressed. This is coming from somebody who, and now it's kind of telling, actually really liked the new Fear season 4 through, and also I guess 6 intros as well. Because, I mean, all the motifs of all the tines, all the Easter eggs, they have a little bit more meaning. It tells you where the show's at and where it's going to go, too. And I kind of want to talk about some of the things that I end up spotting the differences between seasons 9 and 10. Seasons 9 and 10, and then seasons 11. Because I actually played them like a maniac. I played both of them side by side, at least season 10 or the end of season 10 with this new season 11 intro. And I've got a bunch of things that you may not have noticed. Starting with, this is some of the things, this is like low-hanging fruit. This is what everybody saw with it that I didn't see at first, which is the stained glass is actually broken in season 11. The stained glass on the tree representing the different communities. Whereas, even at the end of season 10, still there, still intact. Right near that tree, there was always this little hammer sort of thing, which I kind of wanted to ask you guys what that was in reference to. A little hammer, or maybe even like a cross near the tree.
Like a memorial cross? Like...
It does look like that, but it looks literally like a hammer with a sharp edge on it. I'll show you. It looks like, I think maybe something Jerry had, possibly, because he had that axe.
The only thing I know that was buried out there was Lucille.
That's what I'm getting to next. In the season 10 version, you see just the hammer, but in the season 11 version, you see Lucille lying next to it.
Oh.
In reference to what you were saying about seeing the opener early, you know how mad would we be if they released the Fear title cards early? You know what I'm saying? Because that was part of the fun. Every week was like, who is it going to be? Who is it going to be? And if they'd released that early every week, I would have been so mad.
See this?
Oh, way over there. I see it.
Okay, you see that little hammery?
That's a pike.
It's definitely a pike.
That's not a pike, guys.
Well, now, wait a minute. Wasn't that where Lucille was buried?
Yes, and that Lucille right there to the right, that wasn't there in season 10. It's here now.
If that's a pike, it looks like a weapon.
Yeah, it looks like it is a weapon. It's a hammer.
Yeah.
You can see it better when you have it full screen. The other end clearly looks like a hammer.
This is a pike.
Oh yeah, it looks like but this looks like a hammer though on the other side. I'll break even on that because it does look like a pike, but my question really is who wields it? That's the question. Right.
Maybe it's just an allusion to the pikes on the hill.
Maybe.
Okay, I am a little bit peeved that Lauren Cohen jumped right back up to the main title there, above all these other names that have been here.
You're just another Maggie hater. I'm kidding.
I'm not.
Maggie's OG. She deserves it.
Oh,
Just saying, you leave and come back and jump right to the top of the list.
I think that was a condition.
Hey, if Rick came back, he would have jumped right up to the top. So
and I would,
the same exact thing.
And I would be mad about that too.
I respect your outrage.
I'd be mad about that.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah. I would be. I'd be like, no, you deserve it, and all the money.
Now, I'm not saying also starring Lauren Cohen. Like, it should be blah 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 blah, and Lauren Cohen.
In television, they sometimes put "and so and so" at the very end because it's the last name you're going to see, and they know the last name is it shows importance. It's not like, oh, it's the last person that joined the cast. No, they put the last person as to show, how can I put this, that they're just as important as the top.
Right, it's more like a special guest kind of.
Yes.
In season 10's intro sequence, there was a burning barge after the scene in the background, which is kind of like the beginning of season 10, Oceanside. I don't know why it's burning. Maybe it's to kind of, I have no idea. But you remember the Oceanside training sequence? Okay, so that's what that was. It's not there anymore. See in the background, that's what you normally see back there where Dog is now.
Dog.
But one thing that people were not noticing while they saw Dog flashing across their screen was the following. These arrows were reversed. Roman numerals. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It started in season 9 and they left it for season 10 as 9. Yeah.
Oh, no.
But they changed it here this time around to be season 11.
Nice.
So it's X11.
I'm just focused on the flowers. Yep. I'm looking at them.
Yep. Which was there in the last season.
I know. I'm just thinking of Carol right now.
But this crowbar is new, by the way. This wasn't there before. So
yeah,
something is telling about that.
Isn't that what Negan's using right now?
Mm-hmm. It's awfully...
That's how he saved
It's awfully
Gage.
bloody now, isn't it? I'll just leave that there. that helicopter I thought was in the last season. Nope, new this season. Yeah, I assumed. I was wrong.
I do hope we see a little bit of CRM in
Well, this is what you
season.
can maybe help me out with. I'm not at all sure what that is. Okay.
That looks like one of the soldiers.
It does, but it
looks like a soldier helmet.
It does, but it doesn't.
Like a
it does, but it
Commonwealth.
does. Yes, it does. It does. You're right. This is the top of the helmet because it looks kind of like a bike helmet. It doesn't look like a solid
And then you got the
baseball
face shield.
helmet or something. Yes, and that's the face mask right there. Thank you.
Yep.
It was hard for me to distinguish. Fine. Okay, Aaron's mace, right?
Aaron's
and
arm.
not only that. Okay, this was
Is that Ginny's
That's
hand?
Carol.
so that was that's Carol's knife. That was there in the last season, but this was not there.
The stump with Carol's trench knife sticking out of it looks like the burnt out windmill in Alexandria.
Just because of all the stuff sticking out from it. Well, let's talk about that stuff because that bow was not there before. That bow that was sticking out.
That could be a reference to how
that
they're
Maggie's
really using bows and arrows more, because that hat down below looks just like Maggie's hat and
Correct.
bow and arrow.
Exactly,
just
and
gonna say
the
that.
revolver there too. That's Maggie's revolver that you can see clearly in the episode too. Okay, the two katanas coming up were crossed for season 10, and now they're side by side. I didn't notice them before because they were crossed, and I thought it was like Shoto and Daisho. It was like Michonne and Judith. Let me see if there's anything else I noticed.
What is hanging on the cross on the far
Left?
Yeah.
Same thing as last season, so I don't.
It
Could
looks
be
like
a whisperer mask.
It looks like Herschel's watch, honestly.
Oh, I was.
Oh,
I was.
there
I
you
was
go.
thinking it looked like a watch.
I was thinking.
There you go.
I was thinking it looked.
And
like,
that's Carl's
Carl's eye
that's
patch.
Carl's pistol. That's Carl's pistol hanging on the one in
Yeah.
the trees.
There you go.
I was.
Nice.
I was thinking this one over here looks like one of those hilltop coins on a string, like Henry wore.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
It could be that too.
I would probably bank on it being more of the pocket watch, though. It kind of makes sense, actually, when I think about it. Maybe. But anyways,
Henry's dead too.
Henry doesn't matter compared to Glenn.
That's true. I will agree to
That
that.
was right. I just said that for you. No, maybe.
No, you are correct. You are correct.
I think those are supposed to be Rick and Michonne on the horses.
Yeah,
That's what I thought too.
It looks more like Rick. I guess so. Maybe.
Yeah, that's Rick and
Yeah, 'cause
Michonne
that's
on the
the
horses,
dreads.
and they're looking at the graves of the people that they cared about.
It's Rick after
Carl.
he gets hit with the rebar. He's like, ugh.
One thing I also noticed with the trees were not on fire this season.
Oh.
They were on fire in season 10. Meg has to go because she has to cover something that just came up because you're Meg the Geek, and you have to fill. This is like the Santa Claus. You have to fill the geek holes of all the
Oh
children.
God! I have to provide everybody their daily geek dose or dose of geek,
Right.
whatever. Or as I always say, let their geek flags fly high.
Yes.
Right.
That's how I close every video.
Thank you so much, Meg, for joining us for this inaugural,
Thank you for having me
re-inaugural
back.
episode. Talking about Maggie returning, talking about Meg returning. Meggie.
I'm happy to be back.
Us too. And I hope we'll see you again in the next episode.
As long as my
Disney?
flight isn't delayed, I will be there.
Indeed. Well,
Well,
hopefully.
everyone has to be here because next episode is just a continuation of this one. So we gotta
Right.
come. You gotta come back.
All right.
Well, as long as you don't record it that Sunday, I will be
Yeah,
there.
and record it. We have to record it wearing the same clothes to pretend like we've been locked in the studio this whole time.
I can make that happen. Yeah.
Okay, remember. Okay, thanks, Meg.
Bye.
Have
Bye,
fun.
Meg.
It's great to have her on. She had some really good insights. Also, she was on my side a couple times, so that always helps. I'm kidding. Okay. Something I thought was in season 10 but wasn't. Silence of Whispers was there, but Whispers into Screams was not there on the Alexandrian walls.
Right, and you do see that in the when they are coming back from the MRE heist and they're walking past. It's very quick, but that's the silence. The whispers is in black, and then down below it says "to screams" in red.
Yeah, and you can even see the silence part's been crossed out, and then Whispers into Screams.
Right.
That's that in red, I think. And also, you'll notice the walls here on Alexandria's walls tumbled down. They're not as present.
That looks like a big A right there in the middle.
Oh, good eye. Let me describe what they're seeing on for the audio podcast. So you'll notice that in the Alexandrian walls in the intro, the middle of the screen forms a sort of A. Kind of like the A's versus B's thing, kind of like Alexandria, the wolves. Remember the A next to the
Daryl's
post?
Sweatshirt.
Yep.
Daryl's sweatshirt.
The A from the terminus.
The train cars.
Yep.
They play with that for many seasons, and also the A and I don't know if there was a B, but also the A from the garbage dump where Rick was in. Was that an A or a B? I think it was A.
It was
If you really want to stretch to the left of the A, it looks almost could possibly be a B.
You're talking about
If you really want,
like a backwards B. Okay. Yeah.
If you really want to,
I can make myself see it. I can make myself see it. Yeah.
I'm through with your game, Sharon. Stop toying with my heart. Okay. So this is another big thing that was pointed out to me. What's that instead of pikes?
The Commonwealth. Yeah.
Yeah, led by Mercer. Yeah.
They're in front of. It looks like they're in front of Alexandria,
defending it.
Sure does.
Right. Exactly. That's what it's leading up to. The one last thing that everybody pretty much noticed by the end of it was the crumbling letters.
Yes.
At the end. Remember, last season, we were trying to determine if anything was happening to the Walking Dead logo throughout the season. Nothing did. It did. It went from green to kind of this blood-soaked thing. And then for season 10C, nothing happened to the logo. Now it's happening to the logo. It's falling apart. Our show is falling apart. Be sad. Be sad. Give me your tears.
Feed me your fear.
Feed me your sorrow. There was a big kerfuffle about... on Twitter, I can't believe this was a thing, but like some people were just like really miffed that nobody got to see what actually happened when they got the Commonwealth armor from those two. Like, what's his name?
Zell and Levitz. Zell and Levitz.
Levitz and Zell, yeah.
Yeah.
People were like honestly saying, well, how did they get the armor? Does it fucking matter?
If we don't see it, it's not important.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the point. It's like, why waste time?
Here's how I pictured it. Okay, they find the closet that they're in. They open the door and they just slide the uniforms out and then shut the door while they're still in there doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Because they're so into each other and so in love with each other that's all they can think about. Mm-hmm. Now, does it take that much brain power to kind of fill in the blanks? In fact, like I say, the reason why they didn't get into it has a lot to do with almost giving Princess some sort of weird plausible deniability. Like, do we believe Princess really thought this through, or the audience will never know? But what they do know is that she must have been right, because here are Yumiko and Eugene in Commonwealth armor. Mm-hmm. So there's still like that kernel of doubt, but at the same time, how did she know and how did they get it? There's intelligence in that. There's like, okay, we're still playing with this idea that Princess may still be crazy, like in a weird way. Why is this the hill to die on?
How does Morgan survive 7 walkers on top of him?
Exactly. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about it.
Or when Alicia and Dakota get separated after damage from the inside, she just says, "Oh, we got split up." Yo, how?
Yeah. Okay. But
I pictured her just running away.
Is it that important? That's the thing. I would say that's more important than this. Than finding out how you got a uniform. Now,
we know Dakota's a liar, so I do want to know what happened.
Well, okay, yeah, but you're making my point. I'm not saying this to kind of get in somebody's face passive aggressively. I'm not doing that. But I was just amazed. It was astonishing to me that like there was like a significant portion of people that were like saying, "Oh, this is important. Why don't we know this? Why didn't you spend some time?" Like, well, first of all, like aside from what I just explained about how it not being a thing that moves the story forward, like second of all, I think the big focus, like I feel like the cutaways to the Commonwealth were supposed to be scant compared to the overall main plot, which is kind of like the Maggie Negan tension and the overall darkness of the beginning, the tension of the heist, the spookiness of the walkers, the spookiness of the tunnels. Like you don't want things like some of the funny things that happened in the beginning with Gabe saying food for one. There's enough food for everybody. Yeah. Food for 1 week, guys. Food for 1 week. Sorry. But you don't want stuff like that overshadowing the overall darkness and spookiness.
Saying anything in regards to the uniform, I would love to have watched them trying to get that shit on. I don't care about how they found it, but I really hope they put out a bloopers reel. See that so bad, because listening to Eleanor talk about on Talking Dead how her shield kept fogging up and she just smacked straight into a wall.
You can understand why they would have cut it out, because it would have undercut the series. It would have gone. It would
gravitas.
be. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It would have been a bridge too far.
You couldn't have gone from that moment to now she's looking at the wall of the loft.
Yeah, among all these other spooky, serious, tense moments, it gets me thinking about the Kingdom armor.
Oh, okay.
All right, so which is who wore it better, the Kingdomers or what's better? Okay, because you have to grade this, because the number one comment I seem to be receiving last night was "fuck this candy striper outfits," and I'm like thinking to myself, no, don't fuck these candy striper outfits. Yes, they may be loud looking, they protect the vital areas where you might get bit. There's a little gauntlet on on the arms, so to kind of rip your opponent's faces off while you're trying to fend off. So let's be real here. Who wore it better?
Well, I just can't look at them without seeing Super Troopers, Stormtroopers.
That's what I see. Stormtroopers.
I think the Kingdom's armor. I mean, to me, that was more medieval, militaristic. These guys look like something out of a video game.
Yeah, but the Kingdom armor didn't look like it protected much. I mean, let's just be real.
Yeah.
I will say, in terms of protection, I think the Commonwealth has got it going on. Now, as far as the way they look, okay, if they're trying to hide from a human enemy, that's just not going to work.
No.
And walkers, they don't care what you're wearing.
Right.
Like, they're not going to be more or less attracted to you by what you're wearing. So, I do think the Commonwealth uniforms cover more.
Kingdom uniforms look like baseball stuff.
They remind me of the catcher's, the catcher's chest plate.
Yeah. And smaller version of it too, because it's like it's like weird. So they both look ridiculous, but like I'd rather be protected, right? But this is kind of what I want to talk about next, because one of the very cool things we got to see, first of all, in season 6, was something Sanjay said. I said this in the reaction video. Oh yeah, remember Sanjay? He said explicitly, fresh meat is what they're attracted to most. And then we see in this scene with Daryl, the drop of blood wakes all of them up. And this is something I'm glad I got to bring about again, because one of the things about the senses of walkers was it works in reverse. As you get older, the first thing that you lose is your sense of taste, right? And then your sense of smell. Oh no, it's smell and taste, because they kind of go together. And then it goes, hold on, hearing and then sight. But with the walkers, it's exactly reverse. Its taste is primary. If you can smell it and taste it, that's the sense they feel that they sense the most. This is only reaffirming this conversation that we originally had about all the different senses that walkers have in reverse to how old people lose them. But it got me thinking about communities in general, though, and how we're talking about frequently, seems like more lately, about hordes taking over certain communities and them falling, etc. And Aaron mentioning we have to shore up the walls. Walkers will get in if we don't shore up these things. So, or even without shoring them up, like, okay, you can do as much as you can, but they're gonna get in anyway. It's too late. But it got me thinking, what if, assuming what we say is true, and they're proving to be true the more we watch these TW Universe shows, it seems to me that if blood is the best sense that walkers have, it seems to me that, like, wouldn't walkers from, like, maybe even thousands of miles away, having no other senses, being activated, let's say, by birds getting cut, or like animals getting cut out in the wild, but like maybe they do get cut out in the wild, wouldn't they just follow any blood that's in any area? And then it gets me thinking, what if there's a bunch, and this answers the community question, right? What if walkers, hordes, herds are just attracted to groups of people that are herded together, where their smell can be exposed to the atmosphere?
Well, I think we saw that theory, Dave, at the end of last season when
The Walking Dead?
Yeah, when Beta realized he had to turn the horde. He had to turn them away from the hospital, to go towards where the music was. And then when Lydia saw, she had to go in and turn the horde. So I think it is a mentality, there is nothing cognitive there working. When I watched that last episode from season 10 and they were all going off the cliff.
Oh, you mean like 10:16, essentially?
Yeah, it just reminded me so much of the story in the Bible where the pigs were going off the cliff and they just kept going.
But the mechanic is that it's a person, even though they think it's another walker, it is a person in there. So, which is why she's able to guide the horde, whatever you want to call it.
But if they were attracted to say just plain old human scent? Is that part of what you're saying?
Yeah, like assuming there's no other distractions, sounds, or whatever.
Okay, if that were the case...
And it's the most powerful sense.
The Whisperers would have had a much difficult time integrating into a herd, because they still smell like humans, right?
That actually makes it easier, though, doesn't it? But, like, they can't... They generally smell people, but they just don't know where it's... It's generally in the air. They just don't know exactly where it is. And they're not smelling literal blood, right? They're not... But there's a person in the air somewhere, maybe.
And then there's that one walker that just walked right past Morgan when he was half dead.
But he smelled like literal death.
And see, that reminded
you,
me
my brother.
of
Which also reinforces my senses theory,
that reminded me of World War Z. I've seen a lot of call-outs to other zombie shows, like literally the Army of the Dead that the women maneuvered through. And then that scene with Morgan reminded me of World War Z, where the zombies would go past you if you had some kind of a terminal illness or you were dying. They just flew right by you.
It just gets me thinking about like how specifically about what Mel says in season 4, Fear the Walking Dead, is like it's gonna fall. It's gonna fall. You're just biding your time. It's just a matter of time. Just don't even try. What June says in season 5, is there a safe place?
And we're all infected.
Yeah, and then going back to season 1. And actually, speaking of season 1, and I just want to leave that out in the ether, something that we can maybe pick up again, because it may come up because of all these communities that ended up falling with Maggie for various reasons, but probably the Reapers, maybe herds or whatever it is, and that story about the herds and leading them away and losing. Anyway, so but speaking of season 1, one of the things that was interesting was noticing how we're bringing back the concept of walkers that I guess they were called lurkers, like walkers that go dormant. We did see a little bit of that in season 10.
Yeah.
But one of the notable versions of this that we did end up seeing was the soldier walker that was in the tank with Rick. How he just stayed pretty dormant for a while until one thing happened. Woke up, and I didn't get to watch the scene again. I wanted to beforehand, but he freaks out and then shoots the guy, and then it explodes, and he shoots the guy, and then the sound in the tank, and it makes him go deaf for a little while. Point being, okay, we brought that back, something that we hadn't seen for a very long time until the bonus episodes of season 10, and I thought that was pretty cool because Angela King does try to make this concerted effort of giving you that loving feeling. Whoa, that loving feeling. Now it's gone, gone, gone. Whoa.
Right.
So I kind of like that. We did get to see a little bit of that also with the angle of the helicopter that's in the warehouse resembles that of the one that's in the yard of the hospital where Rick escapes. It sort of looks kind of the same way. It's gutted out and different and broken down and whatever. Yeah. But one thing I wanted to get to of the soldiers that are in there, and this is where I'm going with this. Sorry, it's taking a while. One thing I noticed when Magna and Kelly put down the two lurkers, we're going to call them that now, the two lurkers that are guarding the MREs, the room where the MREs are at. One thing that disturbed me was that they stuck the knives in the heads, and they kind of woke up and then went back to sleep. That freaked me the fuck out. Okay, what did you feel when you saw this? Because it really, I was like, this is weird. This is too weird. This is too much for me. You're fucking playing around with me now. Like, what were your thoughts on that?
I love how they opened this episode up with no dialogue. Nobody was talking. So I think they added those sounds in as like extra scare factor. I'm not sure they would have done that had there been dialogue over top to distract us. I think because it did bother me at first. I'm like, really? But then I went, no one is speaking. There are no other sounds. So this adds that extra layer of scare for the viewers.
Were you referring to what freaked you out was the fact that they woke up and then went and then died, or was it the noise?
Yeah, it was a whole thing. It was like, okay, once the knife goes in, they're supposed to be done. Like nothing happens.
That we know.
What if that's just the residual? Because there is isn't there just a little bit of the brain left, So maybe when the knife goes in, it's just that residual, and then
the eyes open and then they close.
I guess that's not something we typically see at all, though. When we're putting
but most walkers are already moving around, and so we don't see them kill very many that are already just laying there. So maybe it was just like like the knife hitting the little brainstem, and they went boo, and then that was.
Well, we saw that. But here's the thing. Okay, and this is more my point. We saw that in this episode too, with the walkers that were in the subway tunnels, or at least the one that we got to see. Yeah. So that didn't do that, but these did.
It couldn't though.
But
but the eyes would have opened.
Plus,
or whatever was
Daryl walked up to that one and kind of poked at it before it woke up.
Yeah.
Wait, which one? Oh,
Daryl,
the one with the throat
bag.
slit. Okay.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the fact that it didn't move after it was stabbed in the head. These walkers moved after they were stabbed in the head.
But what I'm saying is that one was already kind of up and moving because Daryl kind of poked at it and woke it up. So it was already up and moving before he stabbed it.
Now we see them continue to go down the tunnel, taking them out, continuing to. So I'd be curious to go back and see if we hear any little noises or flinches when that happens.
There's so much
I wasn't paying
plastic
attention.
noise. Well, there's so much plastic noise because they're stabbing through the plastic. All you can hear is the plastic noise.
That too.
Well, here's the thing. We've seen this over time many a times, and we've never seen anything like this at all. We would have by now, I think. I'm going to get to a thought I had on this in a general sense, though, because I brought up the Season 1 Walker not just to evoke feelings of Season 1. I brought it up because the military has a specific quirk about them so far in show canon that it seems to me that two things. One, we notice that they are lurkers. Generally, military themselves, for some reason, are lurkers. Why is that? And then it got me thinking, well, they're one of the first people that gets the option, and we learned that over the course of the last few years, to get the vaccine. Now, it's optional at first, but I did learn from recent events that the vaccine is going to be mandatory once it passes the FDA. It's going to be mandatory for service. Now, however you feel about it is irrelevant. But what I wanted to say was, well, what if the vaccine for whatever this outbreak might be was mandatory back then, and they act a little differently than most other walkers? That got me thinking.
I'm going to be a lurker.
Amen, sister. Well, you're not active service, though. Are you active service?
She's saying she's vaccinated.
Well, I meant... Okay, let's not mix narratives here. We're all infected. We all have it. But getting back on canon though, like I'm thinking there may be something to this. I know we saw the episode with Huck and World Beyond and her past and whatnot, and maybe it didn't apply to her. But Brian Castrillo, or Castrillo, however he wants to refer to himself. It's Castrillo forever for me. But he said something about that he wanted me to parse together the overhead shot of Kelly. You know, when Kelly's killing the first walkers that they're starting to kill, and it has this nice little overhead shot of everybody, all the military walkers on the floor. I guess she's not killing them yet, but she's kind of navigating through them. He wanted me to see if there's any letters or hieroglyphics in the way that they're laid out, but him even just saying that in between his military background and the first season walker and trying to integrate all this info, it just got me thinking of, it makes sense if the virus interacts with people who thought they were vaccinated, hence lurkers, hence maybe the reason why it went active and then went dormant again, like when they were stabbed initially. So I was just trying to think of a way to kind of say, why are these weirdos weirder, you know?
Right.
I just assumed they were in a building that no one has come into, and so there's nothing for them to eat. Right, there's nothing for them to eat, so they just lay down and go to sleep. Which they don't know how to work door handles.
Which we have seen. You know, we've seen that. We saw the walkers in the field that is it Aaron throws the alarm clock into?
Yeah, Aaron.
Yeah. Which is kind of like a soft ramp up to seeing these guys, and you know it in season 11, and is another callback to the first season. But I feel like we're missing something here. I feel like, and listen, this could be just a Squawking Dead thing that it's like the Mellon Ennis. Martha was responsible for burning Mellon Ennis's farm, hence season 4. Yeah, this could be another one of those things that goes nowhere. But there's something. I feel like there's something to the military. There's something going on with the military here. There might be something there.
Well, yeah, I think they created it.
Yeah,
they created the.
That's
zombie
where I'm going with it without
obviously.
saying it.
Obviously,
there's some sort of tie-in, basically. Well, and then there's also the narrative of control, right? Althea claiming the military and the National Guard went at it, and then our theory of the Civic Republic being the power that emerges from that. Anyway, those who are flagged for expedited assessment.
Yeah, I'm really upset. If there was nothing else I went back to look at, I wanted to go back and look at that, and I just didn't get the time today.
Because you wanted to talk about Heath.
well, I wanted to zoom in on everything. I wanted to zoom in on every face and see if anyone was recognizable.
This is a lot like Fear the Walking Dead season 6, Alaska, the 3rd episode.
I swear I saw a picture of Melissa McBride and the governor. And then that's when I went back and I looked at it several times. And then when I heard Angela,
if you find it, just as a production note, if you find it, I will put it on the screen as you're talking about it.
Yeah, I'll do it. But I thought it looked like Melissa in one of her shots where she was doing an interview, like just kind of sitting with her legs, as she does. And then when I heard Angela Kang say that everyone on the wall was part of the production crew. So what to say that there weren't some of the actors on there,
And that's kind of what I was referring to.
I was specifically going to go look for Denise Huth.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I brought up Fear the Walking Dead season 6 and that Alaska, because they were in a talent agent's office by the time they get to near the top where they find where the rats, not the rats. Well, I don't know what the hell it was again. The rats in the walls.
Ducks. The rubber ducks on the table.
Well, but also like the talent photos on the wall. I was kind of like, oh, that's got to be crew of some kind, right? That's got to be crew.
Oh, the talent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Might have just been stock photos. I don't know if we ever got an answer to that, did we?
No, because we didn't push that hard.
No.
If we would have put the cast the crew photos, we might have gotten a chance to see that. But
yeah,
but that's always kind of a thing to look out for when you see randos on a wall. It's usually going to be the crew or some kind of, or maybe family of the crew, which is another thing that I usually think of. But like getting to the Heath portion of it, though, people saw the name Heath on the wall. Seems to be about the age he would have been. And you could see that they made corrections for every year. Like, you could see they kind of said, 27 or 26, or the weight might have been different than they remember. I don't know. But I will say one thing. Somebody actually put up a blown up photo of the drawing of Heath, that's what that's supposed to look like. And to me, and maybe I'll put it up afterwards or whatever, I saw this on Twitter, it did not look like Heath, the one we know at least. As far as I can tell. Now, Heath is a name in the universe. It's not completely made up.
Did it look more like comic book Heath?
Maybe. But it was literally lines on a paper. It didn't show skin color, and so there wasn't a good drawing either. Yeah. It wasn't like a police sketch even level.
I mean, dreads and glasses.
No, that's the thing. None of that.
No? Okay.
Have you seen this movie?
Shows picture of Robert Patrick.
Robert Patrick.
Yeah, right.
All blown up. Anyway, so... Yikes. Cut. But no, that's my argument. Like, everybody was kind of going, Heath. And I'm like, well, slow your roll. Many people named Heath and Dave. And
everybody thought that Kubelik's daughter in The World Beyond was
Isabel
too. So,
but that's kind of the point I'm going to make here. Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what I want to say. They want to make you go, Heath, Isabel, Kubelik's daughter, and then pull back because they want you to get excited. I mean, who could blame them, right?
I'm a little surprised.
And it works.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it.
I am too.
I'm a little surprised we didn't see the name Madison up there, to be honest.
Hey, I'm going to Photoshop Madison into that wall. You just watch.
Yes.
And pass it off as fact. You're generating fake news, Shandy.
Wait, the picture of Madison needs to be a pile of ash.
Cut, but also genius. Cut, genius. Cut, genius. Anyway, again, Madison. I support this. Okay. I only wanted to talk about one more thing, and if you guys want to bring up anything else, totally fine. At this point I don't care. There's two comments that really got me. One comment and one fact. Machine gun swords.
Right? Machine gun swords.
Do you really want to bring those machine gun swords down on Alexandria? Meanwhile, Alexandria's got bigger problems.
I want to see one.
I like turtles. When I first saw these auditors, assessors, Mulder and Scully, I mean, first thought. And then
I don't know. That one dude's not good looking enough to be Mulder.
Scully.
Red Shoe Diaries, anyone?
Scully needed to eat a hamburger and take a nap. She looked like death warmed over.
Yeah, she did look rough.
I know is somebody please lay Eugene. He's going to get them more killed than Maggie will if he don't give us the nookie.
You know, that's another...
He's going to get him more killed than Maggie.
That is another comment that was frequently brought up. People were very upset with Eugene this week.
Oh,
bad.
God knows Thornton.
I can't.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden I had Lip Biscuit. I did it for the lookie. That's what he's going to be saying when he gets killed. I did it for the lookie.
You're one horny dude.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it looks like he's backing off that though, because like I did see some sneaks into the next episode because it seems like he gets progressively worse while, Princess for some reason keeps getting progressively better. But it really seems to be getting to him. And I mean, I feel like they're leading us down this path, obviously. And at some point they're going to reveal Stephanie and everything's going to be maybe okay. I don't know. But people were not happy with Eugene's reversion. In fact, they're probably more pissed off now. Some people more pissed off now than they were at Eugene back then, if you can believe it. Do you guys have any feelings about this? Or do you, like me, kind of get it? Like, because first of all, when you're so used to fighting only zombies and maybe other dangerous people, doesn't it kind of freak you out a little bit that people aren't, there's these totally normal people that are asking intelligent questions that you don't know what to make of them? I'd be freaked out too.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that kind of what Deanna did in Alexandria, though? When she filmed everybody, brought everybody in and interviewed them? I mean, that wasn't freaky. You know what I mean? That was pretty normal.
Right.
Different setting.
But difference in it's distance in time, right? It's distance in time. When that happened, it was like barely 2 years into the apocalypse, right? So, like you still have memories of the past.
Deanna also allowed the group to come into the community before she began conducting the interviews.
Yeah, and no assessors.
Not in a train car.
No threats of reprocessing, no bags over the head. I mean...
Yeah.
Wandering you get a full view of everything that's going on.
Mercer wasn't standing there all intimidating.
and hear about how many bowel movements you had.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And even if she did, you'd be like,
"Hey, we don't know that she may have asked that. We don't know."
Exactly. Reg might want to know. But anyway,
I'd be like, "Well, I haven't had a real food. It's probably been 6 years since I've had a bowel movement."
No kidding.
Oh God.
My body uses everything I eat. There is no waste.
Wasting disease. I don't have a bowel movement. But anyway, time, distance, and even if they had asked that question, still be like, yeah, but can I have some more food, please? After I answer the weird question.
Can I have some more?
Yes, please. Mm-hmm. So I get Eugene, but you guys, I can tell you guys didn't have those same kind of like, come on, Eugene feelings.
No.
I feel like he's genuinely flustered, like really freaked out. Like the more this thing goes on, which is, I think, what this whole thing was designed to do. To be honest with you,
yeah, break.
And it was so
psyops.
It was really neat listening to Paola talk about how they filmed that interview sequence. That they were pulling them in and out, so it wasn't like they sat down and filmed one person being interviewed and then spliced it together. That she said it was really doing that.
Wow.
That they would do a question here and they'd pull them out and pull somebody else in and pull them out.
Yeah, that was broken up like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so she said it was really that kind of chaotic, but it was crazy. Yeah, I mean there were definitely some nuggets, and then poor Eugene when they saw what the reprocess. Okay, we gotta go.
And then watching those people having to go. Oh, we've been here 4 months. It's been 9 months, honey. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Gotta go.
I mean, that makes you go, what the fuck is what is reprocessing? You forgot about 5 months? Oh boy.
So pause, because I was thinking something else though. One thing that they did after the couple was taken away for reprocessing is Mercer himself comes in and takes this guy from a desk that you don't really get to see the face of, but you do get to see a face of him later in the interrogation room with him at dick level. Mercer's But I got to thinking that what if all of these people are there just for this group of people? What if they're just listening devices for the Commonwealth? Maybe they're trying to seem scarier than they really are, which goes to how smart these people are.
All the people that are behind bars are actually
civilians.
Part of the Commonwealth.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think of this theory? Oh, you've seen the freaking episode. Of course you have. Well, Eliza, I'm hiding their faces. What do you think, Eliza?
I didn't think about that. I could see that there could be plants in a situation like that. absolutely. And I could see of that couple, the wife being the plant. But I really think that poor guy was traumatized.
You know what I just started thinking of? Okay, what do we know about the Commonwealth from the comics? I know this is not a really good, reliable thing to talk about because sometimes the comics don't end up being canon for the show, but let's just go with it because the comics do illustrate the fact that what you were before is what you are now. They like to take what you were before and place you in that same position in the Commonwealth. Well, what if these guys were actors before, and part of being actors is, fulfilling this role of psyops? So, and it's just a thought I had. I was just like, it's good. They're very convincing. Dick level with Mercer, and
that's a low blow.
But what made me actually more convinced that this was the case was how, and I like this little touch, in spite of how hurt Mercer was by Zeke's words, which the actor says himself, yeah, Mercer was hurt by these words. When he sees Zeke suffering, he can't help but give him the water that he needs. And that, I was actually kind of moved by that. I don't know why. I know that sounds really weird, but I was kind of moved by that. And so that got me to thinking, this is an act. This is all an act.
I've got to say one thing about Mercer, and Lord, I hope this doesn't sound, as my godson would say, raisin. But when he came to the jail bars and looked back, and Paola and the princess looked back at him, he snorted like a silverback gorilla. He went, and then, turned and walked off. And I'm like, it was like I don't know, it was just a
moment they had.
And turned and walked off.
Like a mating call?
Well, there's supposedly he and Princess match up.
Yeah.
And
can we talk about that a little bit? Because I'm a little bit, it's kind of like, it could be like the Titanic where you don't know how it's going to go down, but it's happening. Like you go along for the ride and you want to see how it ends up coming about. But part of me is kind of like, oh, well, we know it's coming. It's happening. As much as Angela Kang says, well, we don't know it's going to happen. Angela, come on, stop it. You know it's going to happen. They're literally... Yeah. Paola and Michael James Shaw is like saying, yeah, it's happening. Like, we have these scenes together. It's pretty awkward, but also pretty fun. We're writing a song together in real life. I mean, they said that in Talking Dead. Sorry if you missed it, Rachel. So it's like, okay, if we're making beautiful music together as actors. So, but part of me is also kind of like, I wish it wasn't so eventual, which makes me think I hope they don't do it. Because then they'll be like totally like, what just happened? What just happened? Why do they hate each other?
Princess and Mercer are my favorite ship besides Daryl and Carol, so you shut your face.
What about...
But you see my consternation, like, because it's like, it's happening.
Right.
There's no...
Because we want it so much.
There's no element of surprise, though. It's like, it's happening.
I want to see Princess with Negan. I really want to
see that's what I was thinking as well. Like, what if they just completely curveball this shit?
What's Charity?
Ew.
No, I know.
Because the age difference, too?
No, I don't give a fuck
I don't even care about that.
Come on.
I think
no. He would crush the light out of her.
And she would say thank you?
No.
She would be a pink husked little shell.
Wait, are we talking about literally, or are we talking about metaphorically? Because I'm not sure where
spiritually.
You're going. What does that mean?
He would crush the life out of her.
No,
the bright light that is Princess would be dulled forever.
Oh, like traumatically, or is this like literally dead?
Mm-hmm. No, not literally dead.
Okay, because you had me confused because you wouldn't be definitive.
No, I think you're right, but I can't wait for them. I hope they have the opportunity to work on screen together because I think it would be hilarious.
Yeah, it's the same feeling I had about Negan and Carol being on screen together finally. Like, I want to see what happened.
Yeah. And obviously currency is of no use in the Commonwealth. It's all the bando money that they had ready for incineration.
Yeah, that's something else that had my imagination running, like about what that, I get, there wouldn't be no need for it. Everybody has their own, oh my god, this is communism all over again. Because the means of production are controlled by the government, right? So, okay, sorry, we'll just cruise past that political statement. It shouldn't be so controversial. It's literally communism. The government decides what you are. So, there you are. And that money means nothing because we are a utopian society full of ice cream and cake.
If Rick is with that I haven't figured out. Is the CRM the military part of the Commonwealth?
No, completely different entity.
So
Complete.
where do we think Rick is with the CRM?
I think that's the
Yes.
case. Yeah. The black helicopter with the 3 rings.
That's who Jadis was in contact with.
Yeah.
So
The last 2 Easter eggs that I'll just mention: the bunny rabbit in the subway
Mhm.
was a throwback to the one that was with Aaron's daughter, Tracy, and then the very well placed America Hates Racism poster.
Okay, so what do you make of that? Because I wasn't sure.
That is just, I think that's just a reference to what's going on currently in our world. I think it was just them acknowledging
I feel like, yeah, maybe.
Oh.
that it was just a nod to the current world situation with.
Or the irony of this zombie world. Let's just move past current events and say the irony of this world being more equal than the one before, or the world before.
No, I think it was an intentional
Yeah, no, it definitely was.
for what's going on in our world.
Well, and you have to also consider when this may have been conceived / filmed, too. So,
Which is
I mean, January 2020.
Of all of the stuff going on with George Floyd and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and they conceived of this around January 2020, so there's a whole bunch of events that you can base that off of, too. If you enjoyed this program, why don't you rate this podcast at ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead? All we need is 5 stars and an eggplant just to know that you love us, but you really should be rating us after every single episode. I'll tell you why. Because it says a lot about what you're watching. If you tell people, if you have a critique that you want to just send to us, other people are watching what you're saying, and they may agree or disagree, and they may fight people in the comments. Okay? So fight us. Or fight each other while you're leaving comments after every episode. We really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, if you go to ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead, it'll give you the rating platform that is appropriate for your device. Or if you're on your desktop, you can choose the platform you want to rate us on. But if you really, really like us and you want to follow this journey behind the scenes, just follow us at ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. Just follow us, because you'll know when things drop so that you can decide if and when you want to support us. And just so you know, I don't know why we didn't announce this from the beginning of the show, but our content is free for the next 7 days. All our behind the scenes content is free for the next 7 days. Why is that, Dave? Why did you freaking do that?
why would you do
You
that?
have people like Eliza paying for stuff like that. Well, I'll tell you why. Because we want people to know what they're missing out on. We had a lot of discussions behind the scenes of how we want to roll this out, and I thought it was nothing without showing people what they're missing out on. So we're making it free. So this is why it's important to just follow us at ko-fi.com/squawkingdead, so that you know when things drop, you know when we do crazy, absolutely dumb things like this for you to take advantage of, so you can join the conversation. We want people to be in. We want to bring people in. We don't want to push people away. We don't want people to get discouraged by a paywall. And every now and again, we're always going to think of ways to include people who may not be able to afford this stuff, or may not be able to support us in the way that they love to. You know, because that's what I like to assume the best of people. Like, people want to support us, but I just can't have time. I can't do it. Listen, just follow us. You'll know when things drop. You'll know when we don't post it on social media. So if you follow us, that's free. That's no big deal. And in any case, TWD is back, baby. TWD is back. Yeah, I know it's the end, but let's enjoy it while
No. We're gonna.
Let's
don't
enjoy
talk
it
about
while
that
we're
part.
still here. Exactly. Edit. Cut.
It's back.
Cut that part, Dave. No, but it's back, and we're here to hold your hand throughout the entire process and beyond. World beyond. So,
But
we'll see you next week for part 2. Acheron part 2. Take care for now. We'll see you very soon. Love you.
Bye, guys.
bye.
And bye.
Stay right there, because I have to give you the credits. I forgot to include them in this episode. So, credit number 1 goes to, obviously, our Survivor tier member, Eliza J., who hosted with us and was excellent. Big credit out of the way. Our second credit is Darren, aka Whisperers UK. That's right, Whisperers UK. He plays a beta. He's a beta cosplayer. Yes, he's in our Whisperers tier. Surprise. In any case, I've been your host, David Cameo. I'm live. Hi, Michael. Good night. Good night, Michael. Good night, Aiden. Good night, Christopher from Facebook. Thank you for making it for this midnight prayer. It's 2 a.m. on the East Coast, and it's 11 p.m. on the West Coast, and wherever you are is where you live. Have a good night, people. We'll see you very soon. We're going to be recording tomorrow night our coverage of TWD go to Acheron Part 2. So, again, follow us on ko-fi.com/walkingdead so you know when we're recording. And it's free week, so you can join in the conversation for free. You don't have to buy us a coffee or join a membership tier. I'll see you soon. Good night, people. I love your faces. Now we're just going to have some lead time. I'm going to stop the recording in just a couple seconds so it doesn't cut me off suddenly during the video when this thing plays back. All right. See you guys. Love you.